Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to the Actuality for The Hole in the World, an Invisible Sun live stream starring some cast members of Manapot Studios. I, as always, am Zach, otherwise known as the Great Samino, your humble GM here in the Invisible Sun. And I am joined once again by the lovely Marcy, who is playing.
Gavriel Glinsky, your permanently and eternally wayward sniper.
In addition to to Marcy's right, also Hopper, who is playing.
Twigg, a angry, confused apostate.
Clockwise from Twigg, we have Marissa playing.
Kyriel, I am a first assistant librarian of the Order of the Vance, very lawful, possessor of a grimoire, eventually going to take a test to try to advance in level.
Excellent. And finally, rounding out our fine cast, Bill playing.
Maurice Webb, and any whining in the background you can hear is in game going to be my dog Duncan. And Maurice is a weaver, an order of the member of the Hendasa that deals with the gray, and enjoyer of pipe tobacco and tea.
Excellent. Don't mind me, I'm just setting our levels real quick.
One of these days we're gonna have to see that dog.
So she can come on stream.
Bring her on to stream.
Let her stream.
I want
dog on stream or riot.
Let the good girls stream.
Aww.
So yeah, what was that? A lot has happened since the last episode. Namely, you guys managed to exorcise an angry, haunting spirit, one Darwin Yates, from the Etheric radio station of the Topiary district. And prior to that, before you guys met some interesting folks in the form of Songbird and the station manager Isla Younger, you also witnessed Gavriel being pulled back into the gray sun, the shadow, as it were. And I can't think of any place I would rather start than in shadow. So, well, I can think of several, but for the
So can I.
So for the purposes of this session, though, we are going to pick up where we left Gavriel. Gavriel.
Easy.
All right, we're starting. Everybody ready?
Hell yeah. Hit me with that good trauma samba.
The Tromba Samba. It is
The official musical instrument of this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Last episode was violin. This is the Rama Samba.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. And so let me pull up some appropriate ambiance for this. Gavriel, you are once again suddenly seated across from your father, your mother, Masha, and Galena. And the last time that you saw them was in the middle of war-torn Soviet Russia, in the middle of World War II, before you went off to fight the Germans. What do you do?
I think I almost immediately spring back from the table, knocking my chair over, and just this is not a scene that ever happened.
And your father, your mother and your father both reflexively reach out to you, and as you are kind of, taken aback, you are set by the appointment of the apartment. You are in a modestly appointed room, well painted, well furnished, with fine leather chairs and some decorative accents. It is not a kind of furnishment that you are used to seeing. And
Nope.
also, not only that, there are, I would say, kind of a number of fine kind of appointments, things like formica tables. This is a lot nicer than the world you left behind.
This is not my house. Definitively, it is not my house.
It is definitively not the house you remember.
All right. I've had it with the illusions and the tricks, and if somebody wants to contact me or speak with me, there are better ways to do that. And I think she's like looking around, like waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like this is some sort of spell that's being broadcast to her, so they can have like a moment to talk alone.
And both your mother, your father, Masha, and Galina, they all look very concerned. And I think your father and your mother, in a language you have not heard them ever speak, but which you, strangely enough, recognize, you hear them saying, "It's all right, sweetie, Gavriel, what is going on? What is the matter?"
What language are they speaking?
English.
My parents don't know how to speak English. I think I answer like in Yiddish, just going like, when. Okay, see, this is a really bad. It's just a bad spell now because they don't speak English.
And your father, I think actually your mother probably speaks to you in Yiddish and saying, "Gabriel, what is the matter? Join us for dinner."
What is the matter? What is the matter? One, we're sitting across the room from a dead woman.
And
Also, you never got to meet them, so explain. All right, explain how you know Masha and Galina. How?
they are your
How is this?
They are your friends from school.
Okay. All right. Something is happening here. This is not real, and I resent the idea that somebody is trying to use you all to get to me. So,
And at this
who
point,
are you?
and then your parents answer with their names, Masha and Galina. They also answer essentially, "It's me, Masha. We grew up on the same street." Oh wait, pardon me. Masha's more actually unaccented English. It's me, Masha. I grew up on the street next to you. What are you talking about? And then I think your father is she having an episode?
An episode.
Yes.
I'm about to have an episode. This is a cruel joke. And if this is an attempt to get on my good side, somebody is failing phenomenally well.
And that is when you feel you hear the sudden opening of a door behind you and the closing of it. And do you turn your head?
I have a sick feeling. I know who it is. And yeah, I think that I do with great reluctance.
You turn your head and you see a girl not much older than your age.
Oh, I'm wrong. I love it.
Very, very kind of similar features to yours. It's kind of like looking a little bit it's almost kind of like looking at yourself a little bit aged up, and at which point you hear a voice very similar to yours but vaguely familiar. Father, what's the matter? What is Gavriel, are you okay? And
What's going on?
There's this kind of like earnest look, and the girl says to you, it's fine. She's probably having a panic attack, and this is kind of an exchange that's happening over you in English.
No. I think, like, am I armed?
Do you look? You reach for it?
I mean, do I see my rifle on me at all?
No, not on you in this circumstance.
Okay. Yeah, I'm backing up against the wall. Is there cutlery on the table?
Yeah, I'd say, yeah, definitely like normal place settings for Rosh Hashanah dinner.
Okay. Who is this?
And the older woman, as the older kind of but young woman looks at you kind of quizzically, but also her hands are out like this. And your mother says in Yiddish, "It's your sister. Don't you recognize your sister?"
I reach for the knife.
All right. And at which point, I think I need you to make a dodge roll, and I think this is going to be, this is going to be a general movement roll. You still have all of your stats and bene left over, but I'm going to need you to make a dodge roll as this older version of you, this kind of older woman, this younger woman, reaches to grab your hand and stop you.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
What's my challenge?
How many crux have you spent?
I have spent. I'm so glad I wrote this down. 2.
You have spent 2? Okay. So with the 2 you spent, your challenge starts at 2. So
okay.
Yeah, let's say your target number's 2 for now.
All right, so I'm just going to tell you what I have on the dice.
Okay.
2.
All right. Yeah. So you managed. I think what happens is you manage to grab the cutlery, the knife, and at the same time as the hand kind of slips off your wrist, and the young woman kind of sidles like next to you, and you hear a whisper from her, and it says, "It's me, Etheric. Stop. Don't draw attention."
I relax.
And
I set the knife down on the table. I'm fine. This is... Yes, you were right. In episodes, it's gone. We're all fine.
at which point, I think your adoptive parents look to this young woman and say, "Mom, Dad, don't worry. We're going to be right back. We're going to talk. She'll come back for dinner."
Yes, get some air. Just go for a walk.
And I think that everybody kind of settles down, and Masha and Galina are also kind of like looking to each other very confused. And everybody kind of seems a little bit disconcerted. At which point, this young woman, not Etherial, kind of opens the door and, puts a gentle hand on your shoulder to kind of lead you out.
Yeah, I follow.
Okay. She closes the door.
Are we alone?
Yeah, you're alone, and she starts pulling you down the hall.
Yeah, before she does that, I'm gonna slam her right up against the wall and just be like, "What the fuck do you think you're doing?"
I don't know why we're here.
This isn't one of your visions.
No, if I knew this was coming. I have no idea where we are.
We're not home. We're not in a vision. So someone else is doing this?
I don't know. And she starts...
I release her.
Yeah, she says, "Come with me. This is where I started." And she starts walking down the hall. And as you are walking, you are seeing these kind of doors all numbered. there's 3 or 4 on this particular kind of hallway, and they are labeled 102, 101, 104, and you are realizing you have come out of 103. And she's just kind of hurry, quick.
Yeah, I'll follow to clip.
And she opens the door, and she shuts the door behind her, this big heavy metal door, and you find yourself outside in the middle of a bustling neighborhood. And some signage is kind of scattered throughout this street, filled with honking automobiles, the make of which you have never seen. People are passing on the street. Some of them are holding these little black bits of metal and glass and staring at them. And not only that, all of the signage reads in a language that you very clearly understand: Brighton Beach. What do you do?
I'm gonna try to swallow my instant existential dread for like the 5th time today, but I'll do it. And Etheriel's still with me?
Absolutely.
I'm gonna keep following her and just sort of quietly be like, what is happening?
She says, I just started here and I felt the need to go into that room, and I have a key for this door. And she seems shaken.
So we're not... I instantly look in my pockets just to see if there's something that's on me.
Yeah, you find in your pocket your Star of David.
Well, at least that's still there. So...
Not only that, you also find a set of keys.
Oh, I didn't have that before.
Attached to the keychain is what looks to be a large sniper rifle cartridge. It's essentially it looks more decorative than functional.
Like it's a keychain?
Mm-hmm.
My sniper rifle's a keychain? Oh, I'm gonna find the motherfucker who thinks this is a joke, and we're about to have a very bad time. Are the keys numbered? Do they have any sort of signifier to them, or are they just metal keys?
They're mostly metal keys, although one of them you recognize is a wicked key. The one, in fact, that you have.
Somehow I never imagined these to be very physical.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what does the wicked key look like?
Ooh. I think mine looks like jaggedly shaped black onyx.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, for all intents and purposes, it is key.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's what it's been chiseled out of.
It looks exactly the same.
All right. So, in this not Russia that we appear to be in, who's in charge? Where do we start and how do we get out of here? And are the others still... I sort of gesture to her and then at me, and then I look down and is there a halo? Probably not.
Nope.
I'm like, oh, okay. Normally I would be very ecstatic to see that, but not given the circumstances. You're alone?
She says, yes, my sisters, the rest of the hosts, they are not here.
Oh, great. Not troubling at all. So what do we need to do? Collect them? Bring them back?
I wish I knew. But everything tells me that we should stay close by.
Agreed. Nothing about this... Oh, let me go out of character for a second. Nothing about this looks like my neighborhood, does it? Is there anything reminiscent of my neighborhood at all?
No, it is Brooklyn, New York, Brighton Beach.
Oh boy.
And it is for a different time and place.
So, stay in the same neighborhood. I've never been here before in my life. I couldn't tell you anything about it. But should we just start knocking on doors?
And she says,
I have a bunch of other keys.
Yeah, Etheriel looks at you and says, I don't know if that is a good idea. I think these people are shadows. I know that much.
From actual shadow or worse than that?
I don't know. I think that they're part of the Grey Sun. I couldn't be sure. I remember that much.
But shouldn't this be reflective of the life that I had? I never lived here. This is not me.
I don't know. I don't know why this is.
I run up to the first person I see and ask them what the date is.
At which point, it's excuse me, it's September. It's 2019. Did that help?
Yep, thank you. That's not the real year. That's not. I look back to that. That's not the real year. That's not right. That's not a real year.
And Etheriel is just throws her shoulders up.
What, did I step into some sort of pulp dime novel? What's going on? Okay. Are the other keys outside my wicked key? Are they numbered?
They're not numbered. One of them looks to be I think you take a look, and I think at this point Etheriel has grabbed her own keychain, and the two keys on your keychain match hers. And there's also, for you guys, maybe one or two different keys that are not similar to one another.
So you used the key to find me. Shouldn't we use these other ones?
I don't know.
You know less than I do, and I'm saying that if we need to find our way out of here, the best solution is not standing here. You might as well find where these keys go. If your instinct is to keep us within this same radius of this neighborhood, the keys must align to some of the buildings here.
At which point, I think you hear the opening of that big metal door, and you hear your father's voice say, "Girls, is everything okay? Please, come back. We're waiting for your brother."
I think I share a look with Etheriel like, how many siblings do I have?
And we are going to cut there and check and see how everybody's doing in the Etheric radio station. So you guys are descending in the cargo elevator down the pylons back to the primary floor of the radio station. Maurice, Twigg, Kyrrie, what are you guys thinking about?
Maurice is focused entirely on what's coming up next, how they're going to do what they're here to do. Use the Etheric radio station to reach out into the blue and find out more about what's going on.
Excellent. Okay. Kyrrie?
I think Kyrrie is off the end of our sort of last episode. Occasionally, as this is descending, shooting these looks at Twigg when he's not looking, and just like watching them for a moment and thinking about what she witnessed when she touched that word, but not entirely knowing how to share that with Twigg.
Twigg, what are you thinking about?
Twigg is lodged up in the corner of the freight elevator, just kind of backed up against the wall, and is just struggling with mentally struggling with a lot of things right now. Specifically that little tidbit of information, which I don't know that Twigg doesn't know that Kyrrie knows about, but also the growing sense of the fact that this is where they are supposed to be and this is where they belong, which raises just as many questions as it answers.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as you're kind of grappling with this, you see kind of Impresario standing at attention in the elevator, and as soon as you kind of get closer and closer, as you feel the drop of the elevator slow, you see Opus reappear in the elevator, at which point he says, "Main station floor. All out," and opens the door using the lever. What do you guys do?
I think we should go back to the office where we last spoke with Isla Younger.
I think Kyrrie's going to very briefly look at Opus and go, "Thank you, Opus. We really appreciate it."
And at which point Opus kind of stands at attention, bows their head, clicks their heels together, and he says, "I live to serve." And kind of stays back in the elevator with a smile plastered on his face.
Well, shall we?
I guess to move forward, we need to.
Okay. So once again, you guys move through kind of the main performance area and, pass through the theater, and you notice that all of the lights are on in the station now, and you don't feel this kind of sense of dread and unease that you felt when you were moving through it previously. And you begin to move back towards the main lobby, in which you can kind of ascend to find the Isla Younger's main office. She is chatting very kind of solemnly and very or kind of earnestly with Songbird, whose kind of melodic voice is kind of in a hushed tone, and they seem to be awaiting your return. Also, one thing you do notice is that there is no sign of that gel that you left behind, Twigg. And when you kind of move to look, you realize that there's just this. If it seemed like Isla was more serious before and earnest, she looks even more so in the kind of the divots of the glass. It seems like it's almost like the glass has kind of tarnished, as though it's aged since you last saw it.
So I think Maurice goes up to the door and kind of gives it one of those like knocks as he's opening it simultaneously. Says, "Well, I think we did it. On to the next step, I suppose."
Certainly, we can do that. And pardon me, I say that, and really what I mean is, you kind of see her pausing and kind of thinking about everything, at which point you hear her pipe in and say, "Very well. You asked for my help establishing a connection to the Blue Sun?"
Yes, because, I mean, I'm not even sure how exactly it's possible, but it can be done.
Of course, it's connected through the noosphere. Everything potential, everything past is in some kind of existence in the Blue Sun. I can more than readily assist you with this, having been there. Who is it you're trying to contact?
Maurice looks at Kyrrie and Twigg. I don't remember a name. It was...
The Dream of Isla. She was called the Dream of Isla.
like a giant angel?
An Imperial soul.
I'm not familiar with this soul, but I can try my best. You're going to need this. And she hands you a etheric link. It's kind of this tangle of wires. It's kind of like this talisman. It's kind of a wrap of electrical wiring with a crystal at the center of it, very similar to kind of the onyx that crystal that you popped into the space station in the pylons. But at the same time, it's a more clear onyx quartz, or not onyx quartz, a more clear kind of quartz crystal with a tint of blue to it.
Maurice reaches out to take it.
And she puts her hand on yours, and she says, "Are you sure that this is what you want? I can't guarantee you'll actually reach this person. You might get something considerably more dangerous."
And Maurice kind of glances at his companions here and says, "I think we have to try."
Very well. This is going to take some time. Songbird, I think you wanted to say something? At which point, Songbird, this kind of golden crested, feathers less ruffled now that they've had some time to escape from Darwin and kind of recover. She says, "Yes, I am very grateful. I believe that you saved my life, or at least saved me from grievous harm. And I wanted to show my appreciation to you. And so, it's not much, but it's really all I can spare." And she gives each of you a single mage coin. And these coins, they kind of are these large, kind of crown-shaped faces on one. And you know that these are the currency of Visley, in which you can exchange them for particularly Visley-specific rare goods or directly for services. And she says, "I occasionally will have a very gracious patron. I've been saving some, but I felt that maybe you would make better use of them. Thank you
You're
again."
too kind. Thank you so much.
And I will set aside a few reserved seats if you would like to come to the concert in the radio station next week.
Oh, we'd be thrilled. We'll all be there.
I've heard such good things about your performance. I would love to see it in person.
And
can I bring a +1?
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Is your +1 Duncan?
No, in character. I mean, Gav's coming back.
I love it. Yeah, at which point, Songbird, kind of blushing from the compliment, bows her long, kind of graceful swan-like neck and leaves the station room.
I'd like to ask a question of our fine upstanding host. When you say that everything that is, or the phrasing she used was past, everything that's past is in the new sphere, what does that mean?
It's noosphere. It's a means for us to get quantitative and qualitative knowledge, but the blue sun is where dreams live. Dreams of the past, dreams of the future, dreams of potential futures. All of it is available within that place, and you could lose yourself there.
So what's going to happen when we use this thing?
Well, you are going to hopefully make contact with this entity, this Imperial soul.
We're gonna hold hands, have a seance.
It's less that and more like I am going to act as a conduit to whoever you intend to talk to.
So you're putting yourself at risk.
I think it was the least that I could do.
No, I understand the gravity.
Kyrrie's gonna look at Maurice and also at Twigg and go, I've read a bit about these. I think there's two ways that you can use this. There's a mode of direct contact, and then there's a way to leave a message, and that message would take 24 hours to reach the recipient. Do we know which we want? And she looks at Isla Younger as well. Is there a process differential between those two methods?
Well, I can make either happen. I can't promise that that message will get transmitted any sooner.
I think that if the Imperial soul wanted to talk to us, probably would have done so already.
That's consistent with my theories and findings.
So if we leave a message, who knows what will happen. I think maybe the best we could do would be actually getting a hold of them somehow, shaking them for information.
We may have only a limited window of contact if we're able to reach them at all. Do we know what we want to ask? It's best to go in with our questions prepared and articulated in advance if we can.
Yeah, there's no reason to rush this. Isla, is there tools for me to make tea anywhere?
Absolutely. I keep a kettle in the break room.
And so I think Maurice is going to make some tea, and we can have like a 10-minute break, and I can refresh a pool.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. And so yeah, we can talk strategy in this break here.
Cool. Yeah. So you guys have this 10 minutes to yourself. What do you talk about?
So we are lost. We need direction. We need to understand the threats against us and against Twigg, and maybe figure out if they're all related. We have the dream of Isla bringing Twigg into the world. We have a spell book belonging to, whom was it again?
Yaleska.
Mm-hmm.
That has found its way into your possession.
Mm-hmm.
And assassins and mother guns abound. Are we merely hiding, or are we going somewhere? If we can find out where we're going, I think that's the way forward.
Well, we know that there's one method. We learned from Isla Younger that if we wanted to travel to the Blue Sun for any reason, we would have to take a sun ship. Of course, the Dream of Isla could give us some sort of idea of whether or not that's a good course of action at this moment in time based on what we've been called to do. So perhaps that's one question we would like to seek clarification on.
Yeah, should we go to the Blue Sun?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I've done a bit of reading on mythological figures from the Grey, things like genies, big mythological gods that have the kind of presence that this Dream of Isla seems to have. And often there are restrictions around how you can communicate them, which is why I'm guessing we have a limited time frame. We may even have limited questions.
You're wise as ever. I think this is very prudent.
Typically questions come in threes. That's a trend. So if I was guessing, perhaps we want to prepare 3 things to say and make sure there are 3 things which will count.
Duncan seems to agree.
Kyrrie scratches Duncan on the head.
Yeah, Twigg, what do you think of this course of action?
I think we have. It doesn't really matter what we do as long as we're moving forward.
Okay.
So, Twig, you don't think that hiding is ever the right course of action?
99 times out of 100.
Okay. So, two more questions. If we're being nice and pretty about it, what would you ask, Twig?
Ask the Vizslay's dream.
Yeah, the Imperial soul.
Who are you? Why am I? What's your name? No, that's anachronistic. Sorry.
Who am I?
Who am I? What's my favorite color? And what's the airspeed velocity of a coconut-laden Duncan?
You know, Twig, that's not actually a bad question because you don't know who you are.
But yeah, who am I is starting to upset me. And it's a little bit cliche, but why am I here? And why are there people trying to murder me? Historically speaking, when that happens, I know why it's happening, and it's usually my fault, but still.
Maybe we can figure out the why if we have information on who you are. If we know who you are and we know who is trying to get you, we could probably fit the pieces ourselves, or at least we have something to go off of. For example, if we didn't know who you were and we knew the why was revenge, that doesn't help us at all. We don't know anything about what's going on. But if we knew who you were, well, that's at least something. So I think that's not a bad second question.
Twig, do you remember anything odd about your last moments in the Grey? Maybe that would help formulate some sort of way into that question for the dream.
Yeah, my departure from the Grey was not normal, from my understanding. We were in a bit of a scrap up, but somebody else showed up, and Zach, with my perfect recall, with my oh so perfect memory, do we remember the exact phrase that was said to me or somebody put a bullet in my head?
Yeah, it was something along the lines of, "So good to see you, Twig. I guess I'll be seeing you soon."
Yeah. So yeah, I think somebody deliberately sent me back here.
Do you have a description? Anything at all that could help us?
Gun to the back of the head. Zach, was the voice gender specific, or?
It was very low and very gravelly, and you did get a chance to turn your head because of your successful resist roll, your semi-successful one, at which point you saw kind of a faceless kind of mask of this person, and you also saw the green-haired woman out of the corner of your eye yelling your name and reaching out for you.
Well, no wonder I stuffed that down. That's fairly traumatic. I was shot by somebody who was faceless and didn't speak as if they were normal or healthy. But
Zach, based on what Twig is describing, does it sound like a Grey Reaper?
Not necessarily. I think actually, why don't you go ahead and give me an intellect roll. Let's say the challenge is going to be 5 for some additional knowledge.
I'll burn a bene for that.
Okay.
for hire. That is an 8.
Excellent. So, yeah, with your role, you've known that there are some people that are able to go anonymous and kind of wear shifting clothes, essentially, means by which they can kind of disguise their identity if they feel like they are in danger. With regard to the Grey Reapers, however, that being said, these kind of artifacts and kind of magic are common enough that it's not necessarily a Grey Reaper that would have access to this sort of magic. This is something that I think that anybody with a will and kind of a nasty intent could very easily anonymize themselves while going into the Grey. The question, actually, with your 8 becomes who else would have the means and the resources to go purposefully back into the Grey to retrieve something or to take an action like that.
Go ahead.
I'm wondering just if there's a way that the dream could help us identify, if not the exact individual who poses the threat or who was there, Twigg, in your moment of departure, if not the faction. We've heard a lot about different factions that could be causing trouble, and I wonder if there's any way to connect that individual to one of those groups. That might give us some direction in terms of where the greatest threat to you lies.
At which point, I think you hear knock on the break room door, and it's Isla saying, "Are you ready to ask your questions or send your message?"
Just about. So the third question is identifying our enemies, or is it how to defeat them? I know, boy.
I think how to defeat them, because we need clarification around how to help them. That's what we've all been gathered together for, isn't it?
So how
do we do that? How do we help?
How do we help them? That's it.
Okay.
I'm ready.
All right.
Twigg.
So this is important. Are you guys leaving a message or are you making a call?
I think direct contact's what we're going for.
Okay. All right. So
I will say Maurice is waiting for, right before, and he's going to chug the blue potion that he has, which does this. I gain 3 intellect bene and 1 bene in sorcery.
Absolutely. That sounds great. Okay. So I think that at this point, Isla is sitting at the station table. And she says, "You don't all have to lock hands, but whoever is asking the questions or making contact should hold my hand. As well as the ether link."
You understand the words better than anybody. I think it should be you.
I will. So Kyrrie moves to place her hand inside Isla Younger's.
Okay. And you see kind of that flicker of the kind of dual filament lights kind of lower as she closes her eyes. And she begins whispering something while holding your hand, your other hand grasping the ether link. And that is when, and she, at which point she says, "Okay, close your eyes." Do you?
Twigg does.
I think Kyrrie will as well, but before doing so, she'd actually like to cast a spell.
Okay.
It's an alpha vant spell called Protecting Hand of the Divine. A translucent nimbus of energy surrounds my body, granting me +1 armor.
Excellent. I'm going to pull a card. And this one's a good one. This is the Hunter, which is the adept of notions, cats, clocks, and wind. Meanings: nature, death, conflict, survival, seeking a goal. The Hunter is a lonely soul, pursuing prey with dogged tenacity. Their single-minded dedication is why they are successful in tracking, confronting, and killing their prey. The Hunter knows better than anyone that it is kill or be killed in the harsh world we live in. In the city, we pretend civilization has lifted us above such things, but the Hunter travels into the wilderness where no such delusions exist. But that's not to say that there aren't hunters in cities. On the contrary, there are hunters who prey upon people. Sometimes these hunters seek murder, but some hunt with other goals just as dark. The Hunter is the adept of notions. Her skills in the wilds and her knowledge of her prey and the best way to bring it down make her the match for any Vizsla.
So I just want to point out that my animal is a cat, my object is a clock, and I am in notions.
Excellent. Absolutely. I love this. So, you cast that spell, and you close your eyes, and it feels like the hair on the back of your neck stands on end as that muttering and that whispering that Isla's doing, it begins to resonate in your ears, and you recognize it as a Vizsla language of casting the spell. And that's when you hear a new voice in your head say, "Did you think I would not come and claim my price, Maurice?"
Who is it?
We had a run-in not too long ago, you and I.
You're the guardian, right?
I am the warden of the Blue Sun. And you are trying to make contact in my domain.
Whatever you need. Well, I will pay the price.
Good. You have piqued the interest of one of my dearest subjects, and he has gone off to find you.
The Imperial soul?
No. She remains safe within my domain, and you will speak to her soon.
You speak of another ally. More help.
I think it is he who needs more help. You will bring back Basil Victorum. And that is where we're going to cut back. Gavriel, how you doing?
Yeah, I think, well, I went back inside. If the name of the game is lay low and not call attention, then that's exactly what we're going to do.
All right. So you find your way back. Your parents, the Glinskys, are very kind of relieved when they see you come back. And I think that your father ends up kind of very gently grasping Athariel's hand, at which point he says, "Alara, thank you so much for bringing her back. I knew that your sister could count on you."
Of course. I apologize for the outburst. I think I'm better now. I don't think it will happen again.
But we we didn't want to start without you.
You said my brother was here.
He is coming in late for work. He should be not too far from now. I know that he let us know that he would be coming a little bit later.
This is so distressing. um, yeah, yeah. For those of you who don't know, Gab doesn't have siblings, so this is all a bit disconcerting. I think she takes a seat, probably across from Etheric, so they can share like eye contact if they need to send some signals.
Yeah.
I think Gab is partially also following her lead.
Mm-hmm.
This is very weird because normally, like, they'll just talk to me inside my head, not outside of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, Etheric is kind of like looking at you very wary-eyed as well. And the thing about it is very disconcerting for you to see someone who has largely lived and been a part of you have its own form outside of yours. And not only that, it is very disconcerting to see the form that she has taken.
Right.
And I think just because of this magic, because of this, unfamiliarity, I think let's go ahead and turn a card as well. Okay. Oh gosh, this one I think may have been elusive sleep.
Great.
Futility, worry, stress, awareness. It accentuates the magic of the blue sun and diminishes the spells of the red. The richest noble cannot buy sleep. The strongest among us cannot compel its submission. Even the wisest person might lose a night's rest to anxiety. Still, when we're awake, we are aware, and that awareness can be crucial. Elusive sleep indicates one is racked with worry, or should be. It might indicate that the stress that one feels is a real detriment, and that whatever is being attempted is utterly futile. Last, this card turn might suggest that the key to success lies in vigilance. And even, there's a little tagline for this one, sleep can be difficult prey for even the most skilled hunter when it wishes to be.
Oh my god, how do you do this each time with the cards? Like, they are so perfectly appropriate. It's killing
Monte
me.
Cook!
The hunter, the impossible. That's so on
And the
theme.
vigilance and the sleep. Oh my god, okay. Stop touching.
Yeah, so you just feel this kind of this sense of unease and distress, and there's this very generously portioned meal. You have never seen this much food laid
I
out.
don't normally have this much food.
And not only that, there's just this very well-meaning look of concern and absolute adoration and love for their child on the Glinskys' faces. Masha and Galena also have kind of like, I think they're probably seated on the opposite side of the table. You're looking directly at your parents, and you are right next to Etheric and Masha and Galena. Masha in particular is on one side to you, and she reaches out and she kind of grasps your hand and says, "Are you feeling better?"
So, like, Gab is really trying to keep this together.
Mm-hmm.
And pardon me while I look up some info that I need.
Mm-hmm.
Yup. All right. I thought so. So, yeah. Yes, I'm fine. I mean, this person only died in front of her, so it's cool. It's totally fine. Normal and chill about all of this. How are you? This feels like such a stupid thing for her to say.
And Masha says, I'm fine. I'm so happy that you got me to finally come here for Rosh Hashanah. I know we've been meaning to for a long time.
Have we?
Yeah, ever since God, you went to college and I went to nursing school. I always wanted us to kind of hang out again.
Yeah, but yeah, I did want us to do that. You're right. Sorry, I guess the stress of college really gets to you, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know that you took on a lot of workload. I can't imagine anybody wanting to be an attorney, let alone being so good at pre-law. I can't imagine. I know it's got to be a lot of stress.
Right. And you're a nurse. You
Well,
finally did that. You became a nurse.
fingers crossed. I got my exams next year.
You're going to pass.
Oh,
Um, so where was that brother of mine, right? Always late, I guess.
oh, he. And I think your mom at this point kind of chimes in and says, "Well, he was supposed to be coming back on a late flight, and I don't know when."
Flight.
Yes. Oh, yeah, he took Delta. They're terrible.
I'm not going to make the joke, but that's fine. Um, oh boy. I thought
I'd say, by the way, at this point, it's probably about it's. I'd say, how late do you typically eat dinner at Rosh Hashanah?
normal,
Yeah, so
like normal time.
yeah, I'd say this is about 8 p.m.
Oh, that's late. That's fine. Yeah. Uh, yeah, I guess if they're starting, then it's just a dinner for those that don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's just New Year's.
Mm-hmm.
There's no ceremony over food.
Mm-hmm.
Not this one. That's another holiday. I think Gav is like it feels like this upside down kind of world, and like she knows that obviously this isn't real because Etheriel is right in front of her.
Mm-hmm.
But they feel very real right now. But I also do remember being whisked away out of the radio station right as things were about to go sideways.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm vacillating in between how I get out of this and get back to them. So we should just get started, right? If he's late, he's late.
Absolutely. And at this point, 3.5 hours pass of you guys tuck into dinner. The dinner is exquisite.
I tried. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah. I would say the dinner, it would be exquisite if you did not have so much on your mind. Tell me a little bit about what you guys would be having right now.
In terms of food?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, chicken, kugel, a lot of apples and honey going on. And just various like other things. Every family does it differently.
Yeah.
But I think more importantly, Gav is talking to Galina and Masha about what they're doing with their lives, but in like in a way that doesn't make it look obvious that she doesn't remember key information.
Mm-hmm.
And like one of them presumably was still alive when she last saw her for real, but the other one is not. And they're talking about becoming a nurse, and that's kind of killing her slowly.
Yeah, and at this point, like I think that how old were you when you left the Gray?
I think I was about 20.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So at this point, you are actually you kind of in the actuality you are 22, and I think at this point like Galina's like I think 22 or 23, and Masha's 21. And they're just telling you about everything that has been happening, and it's all just so surreal, and it's kind of idyllic. It's like too perfect. You start feeling like this. The cracks start beginning to show. It just feels so elaborate, and I think Galena is talking about how she couldn't wait to get engaged. Her senior year, she was studying government policy. In particular, she had also taken a minor in Eastern European studies to get more in touch with her roots. And like all of it is just, it's a lot. And Athariel is just, completely stone faced, listening, trying to like blend in, but it's just doing a terrible job of it. It's basically, she's not human. She doesn't know how human people act. And so, basically it's a lot of, oh, that sounds great for you. That is good to hear. And
So-
just, yeah, there's no chill.
I think 3 hours later, if we're 3 hours later, then I'm gonna grab Thariel and we're gonna do the dishes. It's an excuse for us to be alone in the kitchen.
Okay. And she kind of follows you, and side by side you're kind of talking. What do you say to her?
So we're not in the shadow for real then, so this isn't some other version.
I don't know. It feels like the shadow. It's not the shadow we left. I know that it has to be the Grey Sun.
But there's a chance that there's a version of the world that they don't go to war, that they go to college, they get married, they have a life.
This is a lie. This is
Yeah, I've been told that a lot. The things that we faced were lies when they got to actuality. But when we get to actuality, they're lying to us there too about a war that no one can remember, who they fought, why they fought, who was the enemy. And now you're telling me that there is a version of reality where my family is happy and my friends live. I don't think that's a lie. But if it is, I'd find the person that decided that it was a great story.
And just Athariel, nothing but shame.
You and everyone else want me to fight for actuality. If this is also real, another sun, another place, how do I make sure they stay here and not know where we came from?
And she...
What? You're an angel, aren't you? Just because you're hiding in its skin doesn't mean you're not supposed to be some sort of all-knowing being. What's the point?
And she looks lost. And finally she puts a hand on your shoulder. And she says, "We will protect them. You and I."
Damn right. So, we still have to get out of here. Because there are other friends at risk.
And at which point, a thought crosses her face. It's almost Monday.
I think Gav slowly smiles, just like, you're right. And we had an appointment.
And I think at that point your father has kind of knocks on the wall of the kitchen.
Oh, yes?
Sweetie, you're crying.
I'm not. I got some soap in my eye while I was doing the dishes. It's fine. As I want to do.
And he kind of nods and he kind of sidles up to both of you, and he puts one arm on you and one arm on Athariel, and he kisses the top of both of your heads. Says, "My girls." And
Yep.
he walks back.
No, this Marsh and Galena are here, but there's somebody that's not.
And
If
then
it's the Grey Sun, that's an actuality, that's an illusion. They took great pains to keep everybody but the person I actually did grow up with.
and Etheric says, "You mean Nikolai?"
Yeah. If this is supposed to be a trick to keep me here and quiet and calm, it's the first thing I noticed.
And then there's a thought. What if he is like you or like me?
He couldn't be an angel. I mean, I saw we were children together.
I am not a woman. Then look at me here.
But do you remember a whole life?
I remember parts of it. I remember
Oh my god.
having to be here. Having to watch over you. Not
Was
much.
it like that before? Was it like that before?
Before it was beautiful. And then I was called. And then I feel like I was with you.
I have a question for you that I don't know you could answer in this state. The angels in the actuality, at least the only ones that I'm familiar with, are beings that feel like them came from the blue sun when they were pulled in there. Is that where you're from too?
No, I would know.
You wouldn't know.
I am not
things that these people don't know.
I am not a dream. That much I know. And you hear the closing of a door and an excited exclamation from your mother. "Oh, you're home!"
I don't want to go out there.
And she says, "Neither do I." "Jakob, your sisters, they are in the kitchen."
It's not even a familiar name.
And
No, I'm like, I think Gav is like kind of frozen with the dish rag and like a dish that she's been like polishing the same dish this entire time and not really doing anything else. Could it be part of, she gestures to like, Halo.
And Etheric says, "I don't know, I have never heard this name."
All right, we go out there together.
And you walk out, and there is a man, probably about 25, strong, lean, and there is a stone expression on his face. And the Glinskys are looking at him and says, "Jakob, don't be shy. Say hello to your sisters." At which point, that look kind of turns into a sneer. And you hear him say, "Protect and serve." And we are going to take a break there for 5 minutes.
You're gonna kill me.
All right, everybody take a bio break. We're going to let's come back at 6 p.m. Where we will be rejoined with some new developments.
Okay.
And welcome back. So a lot has happened in the first half, if you're just now joining us.
Oh my god!
We had an encounter with the Blue Sun Guardian, the Warden, which is currently having an interesting dialogue with Maurice. Also, Gavriel met her not siblings slash siblings, one of which apparently is a really kind of in a threatening mood, while also finding herself back at a shadow that she doesn't remember leaving. So, with that in mind, Maurice, you were having a very tense discussion with the Blue Warden. How's it going?
Basil Fictorum? Is that right?
Yes, my subject, Basil.
And I'm sorry, your name is?
I am Marra, the Reclining God. Haven't we already been through this introduction, Maurice?
I'm bad with names, I guess. How do I find Basil?
Oh, Basil may, in his way, find you.
Okay. I'll just let it happen. That's fine. I can just let things happen. We're, and I'm looking around. Where am I?
You are in, as you look up, you realize you are no longer seated at the table. You find yourself floating in space in a kind of this almost like large tableau. There is a kind of this paved room that half of it is kind of floating off into space, but it seems like half constructed. And you are towards the edge, and as you kind of like look back behind you, you realize you are finding yourself in that blue sun kind of dreamscape that you were in the deeps of sleep. But it feels so much thicker. Like the blue is that much deeper blue. And not only that, on the opposite side of you, you see these kind of series of colonnades leading off into what look to be these kind of labyrinthine directions. And around you, past those colonnades, you see these figures that appear to be just sleeping while also kind of floating in place. Some of them like sleeping on their front, doing kind of a dead man's float. And you recognize that all these people, you kind of worry that they're just floating bodies and perhaps dead, and then you start seeing them breathing, each of them kind of undertaking this sort of REM movement in their eyes, underneath their eyelids, and you recognize that these are people that are sleeping, probably dreaming themselves into the blue sun. And looming over all of you and them is Marra, the Reclining God. She is wearing a gossamer silk kind of dress that drapes down in the middle of thin air, and where the kind of gossamer drapes, you look into it and you think you see star stuff. And her long hair seems to be flowing up, these curls of kind of blonde and also this deep kind of brown interspersed with starlight, and all of them kind of leading down into this crest-like crown in front of her forehead, which has taken the shape of a long, elongated crescent moon. And her eyes are closed, her lips are not moving, but still you hear her voice in your head. What do you do?
I came here with the others. I assume you know them well. We had questions. We were hoping to talk to the Imperial Soul. I fear I might have lost my friends.
It is no matter. I bring them back to you now. And I think that is when Twigg, you hear you've been hearing kind of like the snippets of something like a conversation in your ears. You hear kind of Maurice talking to somebody in thin air, and Kyrrie, you do the same, and that's when you begin to hear the echoing voice. Twigg, is it? Gavriel von Hollingsworth? Welcome to my domain.
Your domain. Do you own this domain?
No, but I am its warden, its keeper, its guardian, its sword and its shield, like all of my fellow wardens.
But if not to you, to who does it belong?
To the Actuality.
Kyrrie's going to visibly relax a little bit.
Yeah, what do you guys... I think at this point, all of you have opened your eyes and you see this tableau.
It's awfully presumptive to call it yours, then, isn't it?
We're getting off topic because...
Do you seek to question my authority, little Visley?
No, that's not what's happening. We're just hung up on the semantics.
I do understand the words. I'm sorry.
May we speak with the Imperial Soul? Is that something you can do?
It is something I can do. But first, Basil, my subject. He must be returned to me. But I am quite knowledgeable. What would you know?
Nods to Kyrrie.
We have a couple of questions. Are you authorized to answer in lieu of the Imperial Soul?
I cannot imagine anyone who would have more authority here.
But do you have equivalent knowledge?
I have knowledge of all that is past, present, and future. While my knowledge does have its limits, everything that dreams touches here.
Pardon my irreverence, but that is not the same thing. You are denying us access to the Imperial Soul. Is that what I understand?
If you would traffic in my world to set foot or to reach one of my subjects, you must perform a task. This is true regardless of whichever sun you visit. You would do well before you question my authority again.
So Basil Victorum, we must return him to you. How do we do this? Mail?
You need only convince him to return to me.
Okay.
You know him by another name. Cotton. Basil Cotton.
But that's the character in the books, the detective.
And there's just kind of like, it's kind of like you asked, and the sky is blue?
Didn't I eat one of those books?
You did.
So we convince Basil Victorum to come back to you, and then we can talk to the Imperial Soul.
Yes. That is.
There's no provision to talk to the Imperial Soul now and then promise you that we will go get this Basil Victorum?
You do not trust my knowledge.
Oh boy.
No, I shouldn't say that, but I should say that a gesture of trust might go a long way.
I would like you to make a interaction roll.
Okay.
The
All
level
right.
the level is going to be 17.
Oh. Amazing. Okay, well, I mean, I guess this is to do with some degree of magical lore, so, for what it's worth, I have a +1 for that.
Excellent.
And I will go ahead and roll.
Okay.
7 + 1 is 8.
And I am going to introduce a GM shift. I am going to give you a point of joy. As Marra looks at you and says, "Oh, you are curious indeed. More dream. I shall allow you one question of the Imperial soul. And then you must do this thing for me."
Collateral. We will accept your offer, although I am intrigued as to what you mean by more dream. Perhaps another time.
Perhaps. And you have, once again, I think that you find yourself at the table. Once again, the scene dims, the light surrounding Marra fades to black, and when you open your eyes next, you are still seated at the table. Kyrrie, your hand is still grasping Isla's. Isla looks pained. I think that there is a spiderweb fracture in part of that filament light bulb that is her face. What question do you ask?
So Kyrrie takes a deep breath and looks straight at Isla Younger, and very carefully, choosing her words, asks, "Who is the greatest threat, individual, faction, or both, to Okris Twigg, them, and therefore to us?"
And there is a pause. And then finally, a voice echoes out of Isla's static. And in her voice, there is kind of this kind of gravity, that, like, this earnestness that comes out of it.
Jeren the Devoured desires what you have, something that you might not remember. It is your duty to safeguard it.
And there's a pause, at which point there's an addendum.
To beat the idea thief, you must prove yourself worthy of your name.
And that's when Isla kind of gets out of the trance, as it were. And she says,
"That was the warden. That was Marra. She has some kind of special interest in you. You did not say that this was the case."
Oh, yeah, we're in big trouble.
To be fair, we did not know this going in. How am I to say what entities have interest in us?
I think at this point there's just kind of, I think that Isla touches that spiderweb fracture, and there's just kind of a slight glow of almost kind of like this blue glow as she touches the fracture, and it kind of heals over and smooths. And she says,
"You have what you came for. I can't give you anything else, and I don't want to do that again. Not for some time.
You've given so much, more than we could have asked for. Is there anything else we can do for you? Are you okay?
I just need to be alone to rest. I have a lot on my mind. Good luck to you.
And she just kind of leans back in her chair and just zonked out, completely gone.
I think we should give her what she asks for. And Maurice gets up to leave.
Kyrrie follows.
Well, like Twigg will follow as well, but once we're outside of the office, they'll just be like, we've heard this name before, or more accurately, we've read this name before.
We have?
Well, we being me and our erstwhile compatriot, it was in the records, your records.
Wait.
Maurice.
At the Acclamation Center?
There was a notation about Jeren, an association.
Sorry, I'm just now realizing that you spent all that time I was at work at the records room.
Yeah, about that. There.
You ate the records, didn't you? How many did you eat?
Just the J's.
And we're gonna smash cut there. And we're gonna find ourselves Gavriel.
Yeah.
Jakob lunges for you, and Etherial steps between.
Oh, I'm like ready to go though.
Yeah,
like don't threaten me with a good time.
At which point, I think the Glinskys, your parents, begin kind of panicking and what are you doing? What was it? Get out!
Etherial, I can handle myself. Protect my family.
And Etherial like immediately tries to shove Jakob and like step back, and Jakob looks at you, and again that awful deep voice of serve and protect. And he begins moving to grapple with you. I would like you to make a dodge roll.
All right. That's a 7 on the dice. I don't know what the venture specifically what the rating was.
That would actually be the amount of crux that you have spent thus far. Yeah. So yeah, you kind of like slide off away from him as he kind of tries to grasp you, and you notice for the first time these normally kind of like what had originally been chocolate brown eyes look at you, and they begin to congeal with gold over them, like
so
liquid
what are
gold.
You? Another one of my wayward pack?
And again, like just like very angrily looking, and begins to kind of hit its hand. Whatever this person's hand begins to kind of turn into this kind of like clawed, almost arthritic configuration. What are you doing?
I mean, I'm gonna fight this motherfucker if I have to, but like he's in my family's house, and as far as I know, this is still a part of my reality.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's threatening them, he's threatening me.
He is focused completely on you.
Then I want to try to angle this fight outside of this apartment.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so you just kind of like start moving away and like pulling.
Yeah, come on. You want me? What are we serving and what are we protecting?
Yeah, he is looking for an opening. I need you to make a movement roll. This is just to make sure that you don't trip over your feet while you're backing out.
Nope. I'm just pulling up stats. Don't mind me.
Mm-hmm. Let's go ahead.
I'm gonna use a Benny on that.
Okay. Let's go ahead and say your challenge rating is going to be 3.
Okay. Yeah, that's gonna be a 4.
Okay. And so, excellent. You kind of continue to back out. Athariel is holding back pretty effectively the Glinskys. Masha and Galena are kind of panicking, and I think Masha in particular is just kind of like, Jakob, what's wrong with you? What's going on? And he is completely focused on you. You begin backing out of the door. You find, like, again, he kind of exits out into the hallway. This time he's going to take that clawed hand and again try to reach for you.
I'm going to try to spring backwards. Do spells work here? Probably not.
You can try.
Ooh, because I really want to.
Go ahead.
So I have one melee spell that I use in emergencies only because of what it does to me. And it's the Eye of Amanus. Will it work if I do it?
You have to cast to find out.
All right. I'll use my last 3 sorcery.
Okay. We are going to pull a card. And this one is the Enveloping Darkness. It's invisible. Restriction, loss, endings. Dark is in an absence of light. Light is an absence of darkness. Darkness is the default. It moves in to fill any place the light abandons. The dark was the totality of the actuality before the suns existed, and according to many, the dark will be the totality again, once the suns are gone. The darkness is the end. It takes things. It takes us. It grabs, constricts, and overwhelms everything not warded by the light. The enveloping darkness pretends an ending. Something draws quickly to a close. Endings aren't always bad, though. So this card turn can bring relief as an affliction or problem comes to an end. The card can also mean restriction or denial. The tendrils of the enveloping darkness can hold us fast and keep us from doing what we want. An end to freedom, so to speak. This card does not suggest death for the person in question, but it can suggest the death of someone involved in the matter at hand.
Oh, God.
Okay. And the tagline for this is, he was so afraid of the darkness beneath his bed, he neglected the darkness outside his window. Okay. All right. So, okay. The spell goes off.
Okay, so let me read what the spell does for our lovely viewers. The Eye of Amanus spell. It is a level 3 spell. I gaze into the abyss. Very relevant. I don't know how these cards are always relevant to what we choose to do, but there it is. And take from it monstrous energies. I grow at least a foot taller and gain a beastly countenance, complete with claws and large teeth. I add 3 bene to my accuracy pool, and I can make a melee attack that inflicts damage equal to the level of the spell.
All right. What level is the spell?
3.
Okay. Go ahead and make...
And its facet is, you guessed it, the dark.
All right. So the dark, the spell actually boosts invisible. So it boosts the truth. What color is the spell?
Gold.
All right. Okay. So the gold is the color of change and shifting. It's not necessarily the truth, but you can still make this attack. Go ahead and add 3 to your venture to start.
Blah, blah. Yeah. So I think just in terms of what it is that I look like right now, probably if anyone plays Bloodborne out there, I'm sure you have an idea. But just although whenever I'm in shadow, I don't have like the spinning, gaping void of a halo in my chest or my parrot feather hair. I think all of a sudden that parrot feather hair like comes back, but goes like all the way down my neck and spine. And I sort of turn into a more accurate version of a feathered velociraptor, but like 6 feet tall.
I love it. All right. Yeah, at this point, I think part of that darkness as well is you hear cries of horror from the apartment that you just left as you see pushed over, like, again, blocked with her arm. The Glinskys and Masha and Galena are looking, and you've become this just gigantic raptorous beast. And you make the melee strike. I'd like you to, again, make a accuracy roll. This is going to, challenge rating is going to be 4, so it's 3 to start. If you want to spend a bene, you can actually just go ahead and make the attack.
8.
Okay. How much damage does that attack do?
It said No, I think I just read it, but I'm going to read it again. I believe it is to the spell's level. I make a melee attack that inflicts damage equal to the level of spell, so that's 3.
Okay. So you do 3 damage to Jakob as that clawed hand reaches out for you, and it, whatever this thing your brother is supposed to be, it recoils in pain, and you also feel 3 points of damage streak across you as like, what does this look like, by the way?
Whoa. The counter?
Yeah. Yeah, like what does the attack look like? What do you do?
I mean, I've got claws, man. I think I'm just like gonna rip through him.
Yeah, you rake the claws across, and corresponding on your body comes the claw attack itself. You can spend a physicality bene to counter the damage.
Yes, I will.
Okay, so you take no damage, and you feel like, I think the form kind of knits it back over, but you realize that whatever you did to this thing also hurt you, and also those raked claw marks you see knit together across it.
What are you?
Serve, protect, and reaches out to grasp you with its clawed hand. I need you to make another movement roll dodge. Again, level 3.
4.
Okay. Again, this time when you kind of, I think what you do is you bat the hand away, but at this time there's something radiating off of it. Something you just know for a fact that it looks painful. Whatever he's doing or whatever he could do to you. Again, you're continuing to move backwards. And this time Etheric is behind him, and I think at this point is going to try to give him a haymaker to the back of the head.
Yeah, I'm seeing that coming. I'm going to keep this brute's focus directly on me so she gets a good opening.
Okay, good. Yeah.
I'm just going to keep baiting him, just like going, who are you serving? Who are you protecting?
And her fist impacts, and I need you to make a resistance roll.
Jesus Christ. Challenge rating?
Challenge rating 3.
2.
Okay. So you again
had to fail sometime.
Yeah, you had to fail sometime. You again feel that pain of I think this time you feel almost like this radiant energy cross your form, and it just radiates out from the back of your head all the way forward to your beak. And what happens is you would again take another 3 points of damage. You can again spend a physicality in order to counter this.
I don't have any more.
Okay.
That I want to spend. I think I have like 2 more.
Yeah. Take 1 wound as you kind of reel backwards out into the street, and at which point, seeing this happen, Etheric, like after knocking him aside, reaches for you, grabs you, and you feel her grasp envelop you, and also again your true form begins to show itself. You see that halo in the middle of your chest, and this time it's almost like a suit of feather armor cascades over it to cover it up, and it's almost like, imagine like a feather knight. It's what you look like right now. And that's when you hear the voice in your head say,
"It's midnight."
What do you do?
Oh, well, we got a call on Monday. Get the hell out of here. But I'm a little bit concerned about doing that while this monster is so near my family.
What do you do?
Kind of the counteracting of the fact that the injuries to it seem to hurt me make me wonder if this beastie is a part of my menagerie. I want to grab it.
Okay. I would like you to make a accuracy roll. Again, challenge with 3.
I'll pop a bene into that.
Mm-hmm.
So when I have the bene, do I add it to the number of the dice?
Yeah, you add it to... do you have anything... You don't have melee accuracy or kind of like like
It
close.
just says accuracy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm doing like melee now.
Yeah,
in this form.
You start with 1 unless there is anything you wish to add to it. You can also, because you haven't declared the result, you can spend a sortilege. Oh wait, that's right. You either, well, I will say this: if you want, you can spend a sortilege now instead of a bene. What do you do?
No, I'm gonna spend the bene. So do I not? So the bene, am I adding it to the dice roll?
You add it to the dice roll.
10.
All right. Okay.
That's why I was asking.
Yeah. So wait. So you rolled a 9? Okay, cool.
Yes.
All right. You grab this thing and it feels wrong, whatever it is. And you kind of are...
Somehow we're connected, buddy.
At which point, what do you say? Do you call for Monday?
I think I want to grab it at the same time. I'm sort of like trying to envelop it in my beastly form because I have like my big old raptor arms around this thing, and then I'm calling for Monday because I'm taking this thing with me.
Okay. You are grasping it.
And Etheriel's on me, right? So I've got 2 buddies.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
Etheriel, it seems, has completely disappeared. Into you. Again, you heard that same voice.
Yeah.
And you're grasping this thing, whatever it is, and that is when you hear a voice.
You're coming with me.
At which point you hear a voice say, "Somebody call my name?" And yeah. What do you do?
A little help.
Oh. All right. And you kind of look over your shoulder, and there is again that schlubby, kind of receding hairlined, guy who's just kind of like, again, like looks like he's like rolled into an office.
This day is already so goddamn weird.
Yeah, it's like business casual, and this guy's just got like a set of like cheap penny loafers, and he just looks at you and says, "Okay," and clicks his fingers, and you are back in the actuality.
Do I have my new friend with me?
No.
No!
He is gone.
Where is it? Do not say that it's back there with them.
At which point, Monday kind of adjusts these horn-rimmed glasses that he's wearing and looks at you and says, "Oh, it seems like your problem's domestic."
What?
Now, he's a part of you, I think.
Oh, God. So the hail is back, the hair is back.
Except that feather armor is back as well. You find yourself inside of I think at this point you would actually probably be on the Vancian campus. I think that this is something that would be the point at which Monday met you. So I think he moves you back to the campus.
Where was I? Who brought me there? That wasn't the shadow that I grew up in. There's something going on, and I don't like it, and I'm going to find out who is messing with me.
I'm sorry, are you asking me?
Not really, because as far as I know, almost everyone's answer to my questions is all like, I don't know. I have no idea. What is this conspiracy? Who is this? What is this happening? And yet we're all in this together. So excuse me if I'm a little stressed out at the moment, because I just saw a family that wasn't really my family, but was partially my family, and my friends were alive, and they had never gone to war. And it was 2019. That's not a real year. I've never heard of that year outside of like a novel that I used to read when I was very little, and I bought it for 5 cents. Monday's a very trying Sunday. So
Monday's just patiently listening to all of this while you're talking.
And now you're saying that there is some sort of man that was not quite a man that also might be part of all of this spinning thing. There is a lot.
Well, it's not.
I've reached my upper limit of how to handle it, and then I think she pauses for a moment. Is like, "We're back. We're back. We're back. Where?"
Yeah.
I have to go to the radio station.
I can do this. Just don't make this a habit, okay?
I wouldn't know how to begin to make anything I do here a habit. How were you able to get me?
Well, you asked for me on my day.
But we were in the shadow. I talk about Monday all the time in the shadow. I never see you.
Well, you didn't know me then. You have the Monday everywhere, in every sun.
This is so much. I was with my friends. I was pulled suddenly back into shadow, but it wasn't the shadow that I left. How does that make any sense?
Oh, I mean,
It wasn't my life at all. None of it.
huh. Buy you a beer.
God, yes, it's the first sensible thing that anyone has ever said to me since I got to this godforsaken city.
I know a place. Come with me.
But I'm like, they were breaking into. Oh, I probably shouldn't have said that.
Hey, what?
We were invited into a radio station.
Okay.
And I need to check on them, but I would love that beer, but possibly after I find out about the whereabouts of them, and just to make sure they haven't done anything incredibly stupid.
Okay. Well, I know. You know what? I will do you a favor. I can get you a cab.
All right, I'll take the cab over the beer, but we do owe each other a conversation at some point.
Absolutely. Anyway, so it's a little early for me. So I am going to get that cab and, again, only if you really need it on a Monday. Again, my favorite.
I often exercise my demons as such on early morning Mondays. Clearly, that's an everyday occurrence for me.
Okay. I'll get that cab. And at which point, I think you see him go out onto the street. He flags down a snail with a carriage cart attached to it. Says something to this coachman, which seems to kind of like wobble in kind of this fine clothing on the seat of the carriage. Slips him what can only be probably a handful of crystal orbs, and says, "Etheric radio station."
Yes.
Topiary district.
Yep.
Okay.
Unless there's more than one. Is there more than one?
There are more in the actuality, but there's only one in the Topiary district.
Fair enough.
Well, good luck. And he opens the carriage cart door for you and ushers you inside.
Yeah, but that beer, we are at another Monday.
Sure. Close the door right behind you.
I think while I'm in this cab, I want to take a moment, and I think internally she's going, Etheric, paging everybody that might be here.
Yes.
Hey, how's that friend doing?
I don't sense him.
Well, our other friend Monday seemed to be thinking that it was now a part of us, and every time I tried to get a hit on it, it ended up reflecting onto me. So, I know it's not just you in there.
It's whatever it is hidden. I'll try to search for it.
Yes, I think I should know if I've got some sort of hulking monster wreaking havoc. But it still doesn't make sense what happened in the shadow.
I know only as much as you do. But
something is fucking with all of us.
But I will honor my promise.
And that is, I think, where we're going to smash cut back to Kyrrie, Twigg, and Maurice. What's up, guys?
Well, Kyrrie's just been given a language puzzle. So that's what Kyrrie's doing. Instantly, it's like she got a shot of caffeine jabbed into her arm, like direct, just like adrenaline, mental adrenaline. She's diagramming sentences like on whatever small piece of paper she is able to find around her to record what they've just heard from the dream of Isla via Isla Younger. And so she looks at Maurice and Twigg and she goes, okay, so we've got two distinct ideas here. The first gives us a clear name, and we know that this is the name that is directly connected to what we were looking for, because this link in question only gives us simple information. So the fact that the question only asked for who is the biggest threat means that that biggest threat is Jeren the Devourer. So we've got that set. But he desires what we have but might not remember. That's interesting because it suggests we already have it, but in order to protect it, we need to remember. So that's something we can all think about. I don't know if any of you have been, well, we've all been missing information, right?
Well, to me, it sounded like it's something that we have, but don't remember that we have it, not necessarily that we need to remember it in order for it to be taken away.
No, just it would be easier to protect if we remembered it.
Well, of course. I mean, I know Twigg has more questions than answers, but I, too, remember very little. Gav, wherever she may be, also remembers very little. We're all tangled up in this. But, Twigg, you did consume the records of Jeren. What can you share with us?
If I recall correctly, Jeren had Zach, wasn't Jaren's notification, it had like it just noted that there was something odd about the return from Shadow?
Yeah, it was essentially what you had done is I think this was actually Kyrrie's, or not Kyrrie, this was Gavriel's.
Yeah, it was attached to Gavriel's file, but Jaren's like that's why I ate the fucking J's.
Yeah, it was Jeren ? in Gavriel's file.
It says Jeren ? And then right next to it was different decade. How?
Yeah, exactly.
And so, didn't this name also come up in the Vancian campus where we were with all the archmages?
Yes, it came up. The Grand Magus thought that this is a potential suspect that's behind the attempts on the grimoire, and certainly positions this person as, a very, very viable threat.
Now we just need to know who they are.
Quite. The second idea is intriguing as well. The addendum that the Imperial Soul said, to beat the idea thief, you must prove yourself worthy of your name. Of course, beat suggests competition, winning, conquering, or potentially quite literally physically pummeling something. The idea thief is a proper noun, not necessarily Jeren the Devourer, though. These could be two distinct ideas. But one thing that I think struck me about both of these sentences, and Maurice, I think maybe you might have something to add here. We have words here like prove, worthy, duty. That suggests a questing story. If we assume we're in a questing narrative, what happens next?
Well, let's see. There's the call to adventure, the boon from the supernatural. So next is the journey to the underworld, where we'll face our biggest challenges and perhaps lose something very dear to us.
So we're on a downward arc.
Yeah.
And we're basing this on literary structure.
I mean,
do you have a better idea?
You're talking to a couple of
a better idea. I just said it was eccentric.
When I would talk with other creative people, other authors, we would refer to ourselves as idea thieves. I mean, all we do is steal from what came before us and create something else. I'm wondering if the idea thieves maybe refers to one of us.
But that would suggest we have to beat one of us. Beat the idea thief.
I guess, is it a literal or is it a metaphorical descriptor?
It seems like a proper noun, just based on the way it was articulated. As though the idea thief is a specific individual.
And keep in mind, we just came from the realm of ideas. It does not mean that these things that are metaphorical cannot become real. This is clearly what we've seen to be true.
Oh, that's right. We have to catch, or
we're almost back.
We have to wrangle a fictional character.
We're almost back to the safe house, and if I remember, there was another copy of the book there.
About that.
You ate the book,
Twigg.
didn't you?
Please don't tell me.
Well, I mean, at least let me read them first, you know? I mean, share.
I mean, I can copy it back out for you if you'd like.
You do have perfect
that'd
memory.
be sticky.
No, not throw it. I can write it down.
Oh, okay.
Don't be weird about it.
Okay. No, yeah, let's... What do you remember about that story?
Just a quick point of order. Where are you? Are you guys still leaving the radio station, or?
I'm going to say that we are making our way back to the safe house in the Topiary district.
Walking and talking.
Yeah.
I asked for some space, so I feel like we would have honored that.
Absolutely. And I think we'll get back to Gavriel then. Go ahead and finish your thought. What was the content of your question again?
Well, I think more so asking you, Zach, to refresh your memory, the content of the book that Twigg devoured about the second Basil Cotton book.
The second Basil Cotton book was, again, another kind of daring mystery, wherein it seems like Basil essentially pulls observational details out of thin air, and ends up being kind of like saving the day, kind of Columbo style. It's a very much kind of like akin to Sherlock Holmes, but there is this kind of surreality to everything, because it is very clearly a mystery set in the actuality, in the Indigo Sun, typically. That said, I think in this case, this was a drama about essentially finding a secret kind of animal within the Green Sun, wherein Basil actually was tasked with finding kind of this Hound of the Baskervilles-esque creature that was responsible for the murder of one of his client's family members.
So, Bill/Maurice, looking at his notes, the first book, which I read back in August, I remember this Basil Cotton book. There is an author, and we have a name. I believe it's Edith Cranston.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something we can go on. And this particular book, I've mangled the name, Adventure miniseries. Or, I don't even know what I wrote. But the important thing is tracking down a thief of ideas was the plot of the book.
Yeah, funny coincidence that, huh?
Funny coincidence about that. So Maurice reminds us all of the plot of that book.
All right. What do you do with this information? And I think at this point, two things happen. One, you guys arrive at the safe house, and two, I believe, Gavriel, you would arrive at the radio station.
Just one step behind, y'all. Do I have my weapons back with me?
Oh, absolutely. Everything is back with you.
Oh, good to know.
Mm-hmm.
I think exiting my snail cab.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
my snab.
And the door, kind of the carriageman is like.
My snacksy. What do we like about this?
Yeah, this is a thing now. We have a snacksy system.
Is it a snab or a snacksy?
You know, it just depends on your mood.
Hey, snab. I vote for snab.
You snab a snacksy.
Guys, I'm just gonna snap it over to the blue sun. It's gonna be great. It's gonna take a while.
It's my new rideshare app idea.
Snacksy.
Snacksy. Anyway, yeah, I think I'll get out. Whew. Is there any like activity buzzing around the radio station?
Yeah, I think at this point you're starting to actually see where before you'd been in these kind of dark corridors in the kind of the ground level. As you kind of are exiting out to the front entrance, the entrance is all lit up. Again, you kind of see that large towering pylon kind of leading up to the radio tower proper. But before you weren't kind of like seeing these kind of flickering lights in the service entrance, but now everything's very well lit. There are people moving about in these kind of like interesting kind of fine uniforms. What do you do?
Well, now there's guards, so this makes my life harder. And I don't know if they're stuck in there.
The entrance seems to, the main entrance seems to be open to the public. Which you would have known if you guys had gone around the front the first time.
Zach, I just had that realization in real time, and I'm going to say that Gav also is just like...
Was the librarian right, or was the librarian right?
Deep breaths. This has been a long day. Oh boy. I think because she doesn't know if you all left or if you are still inside, she's gonna stroll up to the front door and see what's going on.
Okay. You move to the front door. There is a reception desk. Again, there is a fine statue of what appear to be a man and a woman singing a duet. And below them is the service desk, and at the service desk is a thought form young man looking kind of simulated entity called, and there's a across this kind of very nice double-breasted jacket with golden epaulets and ties, you see a name tag that says Adagio. And you hear it whistling a tune as it continues to kind of work along.
Oh no, you found my one weakness, social interaction. Gonna fly casual here and just try to blend in with my feathery hair and the void in my chest.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this thing is... Oh, can I help you?
I'm just looking around your station. Radio station.
I can help you in many different ways if you'd like to know the particulars of the Etheric radio station here in the Topiary district.
Do you give tours? I just like, she's trying to find a way to like get further in, seeing any evidence. The fact that everything seems pretty chill up here is kind of a good sign. It mostly reads to Gav like you infiltrated. Okay.
And at which point after that you hear it say, power was recently restored to the station, so we will not be conducting radio station tours until normal business hours. That said, we are looking forward to resuming regular guided tours later this week.
Oh boy. Power was recently restored, did you say?
Yes.
Well, that sounds like it was the hell of a thing.
It was restored by Isla Younger with the assistance of several interested individuals.
Interested individuals? Could you elaborate?
I did not have the pleasure of making their acquaintance. Perhaps you could have referred to one of the other thought forms currently working. Impresario. And then another almost identical thought form comes up and kind of turns robotically and begins walking to the desk. Yes, Adagio. Do you remember the name of those 3 individuals that assisted you? Why, yes. Who would like to know? And
I would like to know.
And
what do they look like?
I will say they both have this same kind of red uniform with gold epaulets, and both of them kind of turn their faces and kind of cock their head quizzically at you in a disturbing kind of similar parallel pattern.
I'm the one that wanted to know.
Very well. One Maurice Webb, one Kyrrie von Hollingsworth, and one Twigg were instrumental in restoring power to this station.
And are such interested people still present in the station?
No, they left.
Of course they did. Well, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna go fuck myself. So see you later, I guess.
Good luck with that. And they both turn back to work.
God. I just walk out of there. We don't have a way to connect, I think, remotely. I don't.
As you're walking out of the station, you feel a chill go up the back of your neck. And you see a woman, a figure, kind of creasing her hands in and out. And you hear her say, excuse me, can you help me?
That's going to depend. What do you think I can do for you?
It's my boy, Tristan. I'm very concerned about him. I was in the station earlier today, and I saw you and your friends help Isla. I had to leave. But I was hoping maybe you could help me.
And you are?
Mona Farm.
Farm, like actual farm?
Yeah, like it's like kind of a farmhouse.
Okay.
Mona Farm, yes.
So, I don't actually know what went on in this station. There was some...
It was haunted.
Oh, no, yeah, alright, okay, yeah, it was haunted. Sure, why not?
Actually, Gavriel, I'd like you to make a perception roll for me. This is going to be a difficulty 5.
Okay. 6.
Okay. Your eyes travel down the length of her. I think this is kind of something you would typically do when you're kind of eyeing somebody up, and you realize her feet don't touch the ground. In fact, it doesn't seem like there's feet past her skirt. This is a ghost.
Are you haunting the station?
Out of necessity.
Well, we all got a place. We all need to haunt something. So forgive me, this has been a very trying day. I was not with my compatriots when they began their exploration of the station. We were separated and we were interrupted.
But would you tell...
Your son?
Tristan.
Tristan, another ghost?
No, he's
not a ghost.
He's been accused of a crime.
In the station.
Well, I couldn't help but notice it, but he is guilty of a crime in the station. But I was hoping there's another crime you could help him with. He's been wrongly accused. I know. I promise you, I know.
I promise you I'm entirely indifferent to this entire situation, so just give me the facts as you understand them.
He was accused of murder, but I know that he didn't murder anyone.
Oh, adorable. What makes you think I'm going to help you?
The goodness of your heart?
Well, that's been a bit tapped of late.
Well,
but you were removed from the station?
I can't go back in. And I think
Alright.
I think I need to return to the Pale soon. Please just tell your friends. I think he's going to the opera house to hide, and I don't think it's safe there. And she shimmers. Please, please.
Yes,
And
yes, fine. I'll pass along the information that if we can investigate a radio station, why not to Opera House too?
Thank you. And the air returns to normal temperature.
I swear to God, to this day will not stop.
And we cut back to the safe house.
But as a side note, she is gonna head back there because it's the only rendezvous point that she has access to. So, like any good soldier, where she gets separated, she's just going back to base.
All right, you guys get back. And I think that it's probably a good hour before Gavriel returns. What are you guys getting up to? What are you talking about?
Twigg's writing out word for word where did I write you down? Oh, whatever the second book of the Sir Basil Cotton series is.
Yeah, I think this would be Basil Cotton and the adventures and adventures in the dire menagerie.
But the first one was the one about idea thieves, is that right?
Yep.
And what was that one called?
I think that one was something along the lines of Basil Cotton and the triumph of the idea thief.
Okay. Do we have a copy of the first book?
I'm trying to remember what happened to that. I think what I remember is that in the acclimation center, it was in the room that we were in, and I sped read it, and then I think Twigg might have eaten that one as well.
Yeah, I have a feeling that I think you ate both of them.
I think I may have. That sounds on type.
He's a hungry boy.
I get hangry.
So either we can wait for Twigg to transcribe two distinct manuscripts, or we can just go to the local bookstore and buy a copy of these books, which I imagine as trade paperbacks are readily available.
Oh, absolutely.
Librarian with the life-saving advice again.
Yeah,
I mean, I would suggest my library, but I presume they don't have them given the nature of the book.
I will say easily enough. Actually, do me a favor. Give me a intellect roll to see if you find a good spot. This depends on kind of what you get.
9.
All right. So with a 9, you are able to not only find a bookstore, you are able to also find a used paperback bookstore that has a full set of all of the Basil Cotton series to date.
Do they have nonfiction?
Absolutely. What would you like to find out?
Sorry, did we just like go from the safe house to the Barnes and Noble? Like what?
Well, that's the question. What like
I was presuming like
Are you
not everyone
telling
has to
me
go.
you're gonna be not in the safe house by the time I get to the safe house too, with no note, no notice, no nothing?
I would say easily enough you could, if this occurred to you guys on the way, you would have been able to find it.
This is a comedy of errors.
I will also say somebody.
The next 9 episodes is just Gav showing up a day late, like 3 hours late.
It's just like, and then you're just on the main quest track, and I'm like picking up all the side quests you missed afterwards, racking up that XP.
That's efficient though.
So
Divide and conquer.
I am going to point out something. Twigg, you do have access to psychic missive.
I do. But it is, I actually looked up, the range on that is not as long. It's long range,
Okay.
which thanks Monte Cook for, I love you a lot.
Long range is pretty long.
Yeah. It was I was actually literally trying to figure that out, because I was like, I actually know what that means. That could be that's a pretty broad spectrum.
It's what you determine long to be. Long is subjective.
And I will determine that for now and retcon it. I'll say that with long range, you can probably easily contact somebody within like the radius of the district.
Okay. I don't think Twigg knows that, but I had thought about using Psychic Missive just to be like, you back? Hey, buddy. Just I'm surrounded by people who know way too much about books and not nearly enough about punching things. But I'm like kind of talking in that awkward manner and like a voice like when it's like an answering machine message. So it's just like, I guess I'm gonna go now. Okay. Talk to you later. Bye. And I will spend the extra sorcery point so that I can the target can immediately reply with a message of similar length, which is long because I rambled.
Yeah. What do you do? What do you say back, Gavriel?
What the fuck?
Fuck it, I guess I'm casting it again.
No. Do not cast it again. I'm heading back to the safe house.
So, yeah.
What in the world were you doing? You know what? There is too much. I'll get there. You fill me in. I'll fill you in. I went to a different version of Shadow. Something's messing with all of us. There might have been a demon there. It's very hard to explain. I've had a very stressful day.
All right. And
meanwhile, Maurice and Kyrrie are like, "Oh no, this one. Have you read this one? This is a classic."
Kyrrie is advising on like condition issues of the paperback. She's like, "Oh, look at this one. You know, it's actually quite pristine. It would be labeled very good, but you know, we don't want the one with like a very deep coffee stain on the front. You know, because that in the actuality just seeps all the way through the book, and then over
how about the
time-
box set? It's all one piece."
Oh.
Gavriel, you come back to the safe house. There are paperback books spread out throughout the dining room table.
I think Kyrrie had this like common thing in bookstores where, you know, you're like, oh, but I've been meaning to pick up a copy of this title for so long. Like, it's just here. I may as well collect it today. And then suddenly you come home with like 20 different books.
Nice. So Twigg would have totally been looking for like a nice maybe a coffee table book, like not even really a super informative book, but like a coffee table book of like, I don't know, the arms and armament of the of Satyrine.
Absolutely.
Like I'm looking for like the things that they make for like 60-year-old dudes that were like born in like 1960.
Absolutely. So here's the thing. Is you pick up the arms and armaments of the actuality, and what you find is that there are a number of items, like pages. It's almost like something has cut them out. But there are certainly a number of like very interesting kind of armaments available, and you almost immediately recognize one of these things, and it's basically like a wand with a hilted handle and a tapering cylindrical kind of body or shaft, and you realize it's basically like the one that you found at the safe house, except it's got the one at the safe house got 2 prongs in it. And it's listed as a sortier.
Cool. I have that in my pocket.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna like pull that out and compare, and then just also.
And just also, sorry, I lost you there. Oh no, Hopper, you're frozen. Oh no, everybody froze.
Muted.
Oh fuck. Thanks, guys.
That
Fuck her. I'm gonna pull out the guy. So I have plentiful plot pockets is still rocking. So I've got the sortiere that I found in the safe house just tucked into like an inside pocket. I'm gonna pull it out, compare it to the one in the book, and just kind of really loudly be like, "Oh, that's really," or like not really loudly, but like loud enough to be heard. Be like, "Oh, that's really interesting," and then just kind of hold on to the book for like a minute while I eat its contents.
Yeah.
Just kind of going.
Yeah, there's
And
actually.
then tuck it back on the shelf.
Oh, absolutely. I think you eat the contents, and not only do you find the sortier, you find kind of like listed a number of interesting artifacts, and basically with kind of adjacent, and some of them are kind of like stone pistol, and there are a assortment of pistols and rifles, as well as daggers and swords. It's very much exactly like you said. It's like a war buff's big dream. But the interesting thing is,
It's a picture book for adults.
exactly. And the funny thing about this is there is one inscription that does not have a picture. And this one, it's almost like rather than have it like excised from the book like the other ones, it's like somebody ripped the page out, the illustration of it out.
Mm-hmm.
The Black Cube, an artifact of indescribable power.
Intriguing. Is there any information besides just the descriptor?
That's it. You went for coffee table book. You got coffee table book.
That is fair. Do you think I would have how long did you guys take discussing paperbacks before you bought like 30 buying books for chumps?
I mean, not that long, right?
I mean, pro tip, you have access to a librarian. So if you have a question about research which needs to be done.
I love this rivalry. I ship it. This is great. Yeah. So you have access to a librarian. What else would you have looked for?
I probably would have looked for just basic information like geography. I don't know, like tourist guide type thing to Saturnine.
Easily enough. Yeah, I think that there's just kind of like a local geography. There are some in particular. I think that you would have found a kind of a map of the Zephyr district, which is what the Topiary district was previously called. You will note that some of the maps and some of the other kind of like district information seems to be out of date. A lot of it is contemporary, but most of it, some of it's pre-war, and it doesn't really seem like germane.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'll like guesstimate a rough value on the book that I did eat, and what would you give me a rough value on that book since it had already been damaged?
I think already been damaged. I think it would have been probably just 10 glass orbs. I think
Okay.
I think that for the full 30 set that you guys got, it would have been 2 crystal orbs. So mark that down on your sheets.
So I'm just gonna walk up to the counter and just
I'll cover that.
I just pull out my pockets and I have like a little bag with, and then I'm just like I dump them all out and then I keep shaking even though it's empty because I have precisely 10 glass orbs on me.
Fantastic.
So I am now officially broke. Sans Mage Coin.
Sans Mage Fun.
What was the set of the books? How much did that cost?
2 glass orbs. Because these are used books. But you're getting like 30.
Well, and they're like trade paperbacks, like they're a dime a dozen. Whereas something like a coffee table book would have costed more, presumably because it costs more to produce in color, the illustrations, the paper type, all of that.
Exactly. The librarian has the right of it. All right. So you guys, I think with all of this kind of like spread out on the table, everything you've acquired, that said, last check. Twigg, did you want to get anything else, or you're officially broke with the coffee table book, right?
I'm officially broke, but I'm just gonna the maps, I just like memorized all the maps without eating them. And
what a concept.
Hey.
Actually, so
Twigg just feels Maurice's judgment tingle up their spine.
No, that was my judgment. That was Bill's judgment.
That was Bill. Twigg feels an extra dimensional being's judgment tingle up his spine. Yeah, actually, I would totally. I don't know. Like, is there? I would look for anything to do with using said sortier, and maybe I don't know. People are trying to murder me. I think knowing how to use a pistol might be a good idea.
Well, I will say that you do know offhand how to use a pistol from your forte, or not your forte, your advancement. Yeah. That said, I will say go ahead and make an intellect roll. That said, actually, if you want to use the sortier, there are actually several diagrams in the book that you consumed.
Okay, excellent. So for the other one, it's an intellect roll.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is this something I could jam sortilege into?
Absolutely.
Cool, I'm gonna do that. Okay. And if I do that, I cannot use Bene. That is correct?
That is correct.
All right.
Just tell me what you get.
Oh, that was almost very, 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 very bad. So that's a 6 and a 1.
Okay.
It was the way that bounced. It was just I thought I was gonna get zeros.
That would have been fun. So I think what is very interesting about this is with a 6, you understand the concept of the sortier. In particular, you know that basically some of them are unique in such a way that you can literally charge them to do kind of more magic related damage. You can also, some of these items, I think this is the thing that you get, is some of these items are kindled, which means that they are kind of like the best form that an item can take. They're like an ideal, like a kindled shirt would be the ideal form of a shirt. And so it would confer normal benefits, things like maybe this shirt is nice enough that you are getting an extra bene in interaction. Some of them also kind of grant vexes, so it's like if you take a heavy weapon, it's going to actually grant you a vex in movement. So all of that stuff is essentially...
Who's ideal?
Who's ideal?
So the philosophy note, this I think is derivative of something in philosophy called the Platonic ideal. So this is explained usually by saying that think the most table that ever did exist, like capital T table. That's like the Platonic ideal of a table. So it's not like a subjective ideal, it's just the most tablest table.
When somebody tells you to draw a table, it's the first thing that you do. It's basically a symbol.
But what's the shirtiest shirt? Because shirt's a little bit broader of a concept than a table.
I guess that's up to whoever makes
Do you want to start debating philosophy, Twigg? Because
I just want to start debating shirts, really.
GM shift, no. So I will say this.
Fair, I guess.
So here's the thing, is typically people that make items, makers, they actually typically will use the image in their head of how a kindled item should look. And it depends on kind of how advanced the maker is to what degree that represents the symbol in their head, and whether or not it's merely a platonic idea, or whether or not it's a very fully fleshed out, almost very representative shirt or item for that instance. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what you gather, not only from just kind of like this rapport that you have with Kyrrie, but also from the book that you just ate.
Dope.
Okay. So you guys are all now back at the safe house.
I think you walk in and you just see Gav's sitting on the couch.
So
sitting on the couch doing what?
Cleaning my gun.
Fucking call.
Maurice, who has been carrying the Basil Cotton collected series, shoves the books in Kyrrie's hands, which I guess are also full of the spell book, right?
Yeah.
And runs over to Gav and embraces you in a big bear hug, kind of lifts you off the ground a little bit, and then looks back at you and says, "So you went to the Grey? What was it like?"
Oh my god!
It was not mine. It was a different time. It was a different version of the family that raised me, different friends, different circumstances. It felt like something was messing with me.
Did you have different memories that went along with it?
Did I?
The thing about this is, I think you were too heightened during this kind of your time there, but the more time you spent with your family, the more kind of right it felt. But that said, I think by reflex, you kind of shoved that aside because of how disconcerting everything was.
Both. The longer I'm here, the more it feels like that was my life, but it's not. It's not. I wasn't there long enough for it to have any effect. I knew I didn't belong there immediately.
So it wasn't a good experience for you. I thought that
a good experience. No, I would not say it was a good experience.
Based on my understanding, if you were starting to have memories of this place, then it was indeed the Grey that you went to. But a different place, a different time.
2019. Brooklyn, New York.
Kyrrie is kind of wavering, holding like armfuls of books. Not to interject, but isn't that what was found in the file about Jeren the Devourer? Different era?
That was in mine.
Right, about him. There was a question that said different era, ?
Okay,
different decades.
Point of order, DM. Was that under Jeren's name, or was that simply a part of my file saying that I was in a different decade?
Yeah, that was part of your file.
It's part of my file, not Jeren's.
So it was like Gavriel and then Jeren question mark,
and different decade, ? How? Question mark? Yeah. All three things relating under my file, so they were all related to my thing in the Grey.
Yeah.
That would be consistent with your file then if you went to a different time.
I don't like being messed with.
I mean, 2019, that's what I remember of the Grey. Also,
I've never been to New York, let alone America.
Where did you live, Maurice?
Oh, Manhattan. Upper East Side.
What year?
It was 2019.
Wow, that's a dangerous place to live.
Not really. It's one of the nicer places. Where did you live?
I'm pretty sure I've been to Manhattan. It was kind of a shithole.
It's still a shithole, just a richer shithole.
Look,
I spent most of my time in Detroit.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Sorry, Detroit folks.
Yeah, we love you.
We love Detroit.
But also, like, I spent a decent amount of time in Detroit, and
we could argue terrible cities for the next decade, but
yeah, no, it's about
you, terrible city.
It's about the decades. Which one's the different decade? I mean, I think the anomaly.
I remember 1942.
And that was what you came from, but this is what the file marked as being different, being a bit of a puzzle. No one else here was from a different decade.
Zach, what was
wait, what?
What was in my file?
You didn't have, your file wasn't filled out, but you do remember that you were from 1985. 75. That's right.
Okay, so like I remember where I was, but that wasn't noted down or anything. Yeah, because like mine was just like a name and then they stopped.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you didn't know, you didn't end up in the record system yet.
Yeah. Okay.
Too new.
Okay.
So to Maurice's knowledge, what he shares is that Gav is the one and only instance of existence in the Grey that didn't correspond. Oh no, that's not true. No, because that would be Kyrrie as well.
Three of us.
So yeah, what Maurice, as the local expert on what happens in the Gray, how abnormal is this?
This is pretty abnormal. You I think actually, why don't you make an intellect roll for me?
Hell yeah.
All right. I'm gonna set the base level at 5, and anything above, I'll tell you something fun.
All right, so I'm burning, so I'm gonna hit a 4 or above, and I hit a 4 exactly.
Awesome. Okay, so with a 5, you know that people do tend to come back from different decades. Some people do. It's very exceedingly rare. Most of the people are kind of caught in the 21st century and then come back.
So contemporary times, as Maurice understands them, is the norm.
Yeah. I mean, it's still the Gray has mention and history books that refer to these other times, but they do not, but people typically do not come from these decades. It is exceedingly rare. I think also, just as a baseline, you probably understand that having 4 of you from different decades would be extremely rare.
So yeah, Maurice says exactly that. It is exceedingly rare.
So we have 4 Weasley individuals from 4 different decades, and none of us can remember anything about our lives in the actuality. And that cannot be a coincidence.
No, it can't be.
I wonder if, just from a hypothetical experimental point of view.
And at this point, Maurice is helping unload the books from your...
Oh, yes,
Also,
thank you.
what's with the books? I hesitate to ask.
A bookstore.
No, well, thank you for that. Yes, a bookstore. Of course, books from a bookstore. Why specifically do you have those books that you got from a bookstore?
Maurice puts these down.
After going to the haunted radio station, just haunted. By the way, met one of the ghosts on my way out from trying to find you there, in case anyone was curious.
I can't believe these words are going to come out of my mouth, but hold the thought about the ghost you talked to. These books came about because we were successful. We went, well, I don't know if we went, but we communicated with the Blue, with the Guardian, with Marra, the reclining god. And we got to ask a question.
Except there was a catch. We have to go find a fictional character and return this fictional character to the Blue Sun. And as the case may be, this fictional character is the lead title character in this trade fiction pulp detective series, which we keep finding volumes of at various places around the city.
Maurice hands Gav the first book in the series.
Yeah, she takes that and idly looks at it. Well, the Blue Sun is about dreams, right? You taught me that. It's all dreaming and all this. So it sounds like you're taking a fictional character and trying to put them back in a book.
Or take them out.
Or take them out.
3.
Did they say to kill this character or to bring them back to the land of dreams?
To persuade them to go back to the Blue Sun.
Well,
if we are all connected to the Blue Sun in dreams, it sounds like you're trying to take an idea that's become reality and put it back into the realms of ideas.
Oh man. Like unmake a thing?
Like make sure a character is back
What did you
just
think
in
she
its
was
pages.
That's what she was asking you to do, is to...
I thought that maybe, this entity was living as an idea in this sun and just needed to I don't know, like
what if it's
exile?
alive?
Well,
like an actual living being.
What's not
that has
possible?
A life here?
That's not so if what was learned from the demonstration of Jaro's fictive form is thus: although you can give an illusion of a character coming into reality, you can't actually make them a physical, living, breathing person, at least not in perpetuity. You can give them a time in that way. And in fact, the latest research on fictional epistemology, so how fictional characters know what they know, suggests that you even can have in that moment in time a recreation of a consciousness that would be authentic with what that character in the fictional story would be thinking, feeling, and have that be an iterative, modular consciousness. But it's not sustained. It's not as though they have their own lives or could exist for longer than the spell or magic is able to keep them.
Granted, I'm not a philosopher or a librarian, but we are, again, 4 Vizsla that have managed to be in 4 different decades, exceedingly rare, and can't remember anything about our actual lives. Again, exceedingly rare, said to not happen at all. So you'll forgive me if I don't assume immediately that I don't think we're dealing with some sort of iteration. Who's to say this one did not break the mold?
If it can want freedom, doesn't it deserve it?
Exactly.
Are we talking about a character?
Yes.
So we're talking about Basil Fictotum.
If it wasn't dangerous to everything, why bring it back into just the realm of ideas when it can be alive here?
Also, I just want to point out that the recumbent Muppets' desire for us to do this was based around the premise of their authority, and their argument for their authority was that they have it.
So
I'm as skeptical of that as you are.
This god is going to give us the answers?
We were at the foot of a god, and you're saying that you're not taking their word that their power is what it is?
Well, I'm Jewish. We do that all the time.
Authority and power are 2 separate things.
No.
They're constructs.
Well, I, for one, promised to pay the price. I passed this guardian twice. For you, Twigg. This is the price that we agreed to pay, or at least I did.
Is this the only way to get the answers that we seek?
No. In fact, I would suggest 3 actual solutions come to mind. 1, we have to find a way to go into book 1 of the Idea Thief, because we were given an injunction which effectively says that we need to beat the Idea Thief. That's a goal. And in order to do that, I think we need to be in a situation which mirrors or parallels the narrative of that novel where idea thieves are beaten. 2, we could pull this character out of the book, but we're presuming that that's already happened. Maurice, I don't know what the limits are on your forte, your ability to turn tales into reality, but if we're going to actually interact with something fictional, that seems like the most logical way to go about it.
Oh, this is where I think your logic breaks down, Kyrrie, and where we will forever disagree. It's not impossible for a fiction to have life. An agreed upon fiction is the truth. It's as simple as that.
But who agrees upon that fiction?
At
some point, it becomes a tangible, living thing.
Duncan, at this point, kind of whimpers.
And I, pick him up.
We're back to shirts again. Capital T tables.
Look, I don't know anything about philosophy, but if I am understanding your interaction correctly with this god, which you have as a bounty on the person's head, simple as that. They want this person, you bring it back. It sounds to me like we are dealing with a living, breathing thing, whether it be in the book or whether it be wandering around the streets here.
Marra said it was her subject, like the Imperial soul was her subject, and that this being was taking an interest in us and needed help returning home. Maybe this is some sort of violent, abduction, but I think we're finally doing what we need to do, and let's not forget that these books were supposedly written by, and Maurice pulls up the book, Edith Cranston.
So can we not find this Edith Cranston first?
That seems like a good place to start.
I have an alternative suggestion. We know that Joro at my university can cast fictive form. Could we not just have him do so, and the fictive form he takes be Basil, and then we can ask?
Wearing a mask.
I mean,
well, as I said, consciousness can be recreated. That's the latest in fictional epistemological research.
So I actually have some ability to do this. The question is, I think if I were to call a creature from a story, it would be the story that I know. It would be the creature as they exist in my imagination, fulfilling what I believe them to be. Reading these books, and he holds up the series, we will each have 4 different imaginations. The tableist table, the shirtiest shirt. Who do you picture when you read a Basil Cotton? How tall are they? What are they, what is the exact color of their hair? It will be different from all 4 of us, so I could bring my version to life. It would not necessarily be the Basil.
So, Zach, while Maurice is doing this, saying these things, Twigg's going to grab a copy of any book in the series and just flip to the back page for the author info, or like the back of the dust jacket, and look to see if where this Edith, is it Edith?
Yeah, Edith Cranston.
Where Edith Cranston lives. Yeah, if it mentions.
It says Edith Cranston is the proud owner of 2 cats and 30 novels to date. She resides in Lower Taverswood and lives for mysteries.
Where is Lower Taverswood?
It's another district in Satyrine. You would know from the geographical knowledge.
Sweet memorized maps of various accuracies.
In
Maurice.
fact,
Oh god.
In fact, why don't we pull up the map? XSplit will let me do that. 1 second. Hey, there we go. So yeah, we now have on the Twitch stream we have our map of the City of Notions.
Why don't we start there?
Well, Maurice, you're asking a question. Is the author's interpretation of a character more authentic to that character than what that character has become and what its readers make it?
No, what I'm saying is that this author isn't responsible for Basil's existence at all.
No, but we're finding the author so that she can recreate this character? Is that the idea?
So that she can tell us what the hell is going on. Because
yeah,
Basil Cotton is
I'd
not...
like to start with that. What the hell
I'm
is
just
going on?
saying we should talk to his mother.
Character's mother?
In every way that matters.
Right.
I
think we're being too literal about word choice.
Do we want? Well, that is my purview. It's sort of my job. But I think, so we have several options here. First, certainly information gathering I wholeheartedly approve of. And I would agree the author is certainly an authority on the subject of her own character in some respect.
Or at least knows how this character came to exist in a book.
Mm-hmm. And the argument can be made that she relinquished that authority as author at the point that her books were published. However, she does have a body of knowledge we could benefit from.
Absolutely.
From that point, we could either try casting a spell such as Jaro's fictive form or asking someone to do so for us to recreate the consciousness of that character and therefore ask him what he wants and what he prefers we do. Isn't that the first step in getting a character's consent if we can't just find him?
I think this must be a figure that we are physically finding, one way or the other. There is one version that we are bringing back. A subject.
Right.
I don't want to, put on false modesty here, but that is something that I can do.
Has Maurice read all the books? Have you read all the books, Maurice?
No, how many books are there?
There's 30.
I need at least 30 minutes.
Like I can read them in 30 minutes. Just after that, nobody else can read them.
You can also read and sleep, as I know.
That's true.
Yeah, and we have work to do.
So is it listed where Basil lives anywhere?
Basil, you can see, actually resides in Fartown, according to the fiction. Basil.
Is there a specific address, like Baker
like a
Street?
221B?
Yeah, let's actually, I'm gonna say for now it's 123. No, not 123. That's
Yeah, it's
not
123, Zach.
Yeah. Let's call it 42A. Pyramid Avenue. And now I have to write that down.
I got you. I already got it down.
That sweet moment when you pull something out of your ass.
So I recommend we start there. If this is our way into the blue, figuring out all of the questions that still need answers.
Well, do we want to start with the author, or do we want to try to assume that the character will be at his address?
One way or the other, we get closer to what it is that we need.
And we shouldn't forget about the big picture here. This is one aspect, one small goal of the bigger picture, which is that Twigg is in danger, and each of us, and Maurice makes eye contact with all of you, we're brought together to protect Twigg.
Oh, I think it goes bigger than that. I think there's something being hidden from all of us here. And I think Twigg might be the first crack in their armor. Something happened with how we got here that whoever is in charge didn't like. And they think you're vulnerable. She gestures at Twigg. This looks like a botched operation, and I've seen enough of those.
I'm the one they're trying to murder actively right now.
Well, we established that the most immediate threat is this Jeren, the Devourer.
The Devoured.
Devoured.
That's
very different.
That's very different.
Somehow related to me, as his name was in my file. But I don't know a Jeren.
So, collecting what you know for a fact that you found at the Hendasa Acclamation Center the mention of Jeren, as well as the mention of different decades. You also know, from your scouring of the novels, that Edith Cranston resides in Lower Taberswood. You also know that...
Has two cats.
Has two cats, loves mysteries. You also know that there are potentials for differentiation between iterations of Basil. And so you want to start at his street. So I say you have determined a potential avenue is either starting at his address, starting at Edith's home in Lower Taberswood.
Gav is voting for the author.
Maurice just wants us all to stick together.
It seems like we're going to need to solve this mystery. We're going to need to go through the solving of a classic mystery. And not to be too meta about it, but certainly we've assembled a lot of clues. So it really now only behooves us to begin to follow them. And I think one definitively leads us to the author's home.
As I said, just not as eloquently.
Okay.
Whatever this is, whatever we decide to do, we could sleep on it, yeah? Set out in the morning?
Well, don't forget, we also have this question of the opera house. I mean, certainly can be saved for after this, but you seem to suggest, Gav, that this ghost was pretty frantic.
Oh, tell me about the ghost.
Oh, yeah, let's hear a ghost story before we go to bed. Sure. There was some ghost that said that they were haunting the radio station that you so kindly evicted them from. Uncertain of what they were talking about. They have a son that's alive that was being accused of murder. She seemed certain that he was innocent, but she's a mother.
What was his name?
Tristan.
Does
that mean anything to you?
Yes. Ashwin told me this. It's a friend of his.
Oh, your lovely friend who threatened us when we came inside.
We broke into his house, okay?
I'm
No,
not
this
holding
is-
a grudge.
And he happens to be a very illustrious architect, so
They said that he was hiding out in the opera house, and the ghost told me that it could be dangerous, but I don't see how that's any different from any other day that I have experienced so far.
Thank
Personally,
you for...
I would rather be focusing on the thing that could get us answers and potentially get whoever is currently shooting at one of our allies off of our back.
You're right.
But
The idiom is gunning for, I think.
Okay.
But they did mention that this whole thing, and she couldn't cross over into the Pale unless something happened. I have no idea why she stopped me. I thought I was interested, but I did say I would pass it along. Therefore, I have upheld my side of the bargain.
Thanks, Gav. But I think you're right. We need to stay focused, right? We can't...
I mean, she's a ghost, right? She's not going anywhere.
I think the issue is Tristan.
Oh, right. I guess he's squishy and alive.
Well,
Yeah.
do we know when the we met Gav, a opera singer, while we were at the radio station, and in gratitude she gave us some tickets to her next show. That would be a way to get in should we want to do that, but I don't know when her next show is. Do any of you?
Didn't she say her show, sorry, out of character, didn't she say her show was at the radio station, not the opera house?
Yeah, because the
Oh,
the opera
gotcha.
house is foreclosed.
Got
So
it.
it's next week.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Oh, the opera house is foreclosed.
Yes.
It's got one of them house viruses.
So we can just roll on up. I'm assuming nobody would be inside.
And Zach, fill me in the exact nature of the house virus.
House virus is
House virus.
is essentially it's like house cancer.
Yeah, but this specific one, it had a specific effect on the opera house, or was that?
Typically what it happens is like it's basically kind of like foundations begin cracking and becoming kind of unstable. Some kind of edifices, they grow exponentially or in odd arrangements and in such a fashion that it is it is apparent that the house is sick.
It's perfect. I'll take it.
Okay. So you guys have all this information. Are you settling in for the evening?
Yeah, I think she was telling
Yeah.
that as we were settling in.
Okay.
So Maurice is going to spend 1 minute each on each of the books using the cantrip rapid read.
Uh-huh.
This goes through book after book after book. He talks to Twigg and says, Twigg, I need you to not eat these just until everyone has had a chance to read them, okay?
I mean, I guess I did kind of. I'm a little bit bloated from the that arm. There's a lot of pictures and they don't quite sit right.
I have no idea what you're saying, but that's good. And then, to Kyrrie says, do you want to set these aside to read tonight?
Yeah, I'll get through them by the end of the evening. It shouldn't take too long.
So as Maurice makes his way through the pile, he brings in the finished collection and sets it by Kyrie's bedside.
Okay.
And goes to retire for the night.
Okay. So, Maurice, as you are settling in for the night, you're frustrated. You kind of have more questions than answers. You kind of keep on finding yourself at these seemingly dead ends that kind of wind off, and sometimes, and all of this is kind of like coinciding with the fiction that you're reading. Oftentimes, Basil finds himself frustrated by a particularly slippery mystery, but always it seems as though he manages to pull out the right bit of detail from his surroundings and come to this prodigious conclusion. And you're kind of looking through another novel, and by now the formula is becoming apparent. And that's when you hear, "Psst, hey, hey." And you look around. There's nothing really apparent about where it came from. That kind of voice. What do you do?
Hello. I'm here.
Oi, down here. And as you look down, there is a small spider kind of waxing its legs, looking at you.
Maurice kind of says one of those. How are you?
Well, a bloody bothered is what I am, mate. I come here. It's not mine to really interfere with Visley affairs, alright? Why don't you do your mate a favour? Open up the damn envelope you got and read it.
Oh,
I've got 1,000 kids to feed.
And Maurice takes the envelope with the familiar handwriting and opens it up.
And as you open the letter, let me go ahead and remove the City of Saturnine here. You find a note in parchment paper that reads, "Dearest Maurice, I humbly request your attendance at 230 Arden Road, October 14th, 7 p.m. to celebrate my mastery of the weft. Feel free to bring friends. Kenroy." Incidentally,
what day is it?
it is about, I'm going to say this is coming from Rosh Hashanah, so this is going to be in 2 weeks. The address is in Lower Taborswood, and it is the same address as the cell in which you learned your mastery of the weave.
And Maurice looks down at the spider and says, did you want to be my plus one? How does this relate to you?
Oi, it doesn't. So if you'd be so kind, answer, bloody friend. I don't want to have to come back here.
Are you offering to give a message for me?
Well, certainly. Are you bringing some plus ones?
Yes. And Maurice looks at the RSVP card and begins to fill it out. And then immediately realizes that this dwarf's the size of the spider, and puts it back in the envelope and says, yes, tell Kenroy I'll be there with +3.
All right. Good.
And tell him that this spider talking thing is cool.
Whatever, mate. And he just crawls out I think past the door of the safe house. And I should say that it seems like you were hearing him loudly talking to you. Not one of you heard anything of the sort.
And Maurice is
Could we hear him talk? Like, Twigg is not sleeping. Could I hear him talking to himself?
Why don't you make a perception roll?
Yes.
Let's say difficulty 5.
I'm totally putting a Bene into this because
oh yeah, you gotta
I
hear
love you, RSVP Spider.
7 + 1.
All right. So not only do you hear Maurice talking, seemingly to himself, you are hearing this kind of susurrous language. I think with the 8, I don't think he even realizes that he's doing it. He seems to be having a very kind of weird conversation with maybe himself?
You know what? I'm just going to leave this one alone.
Okay. And
So, yeah, Maurice is, kind of going over the handwriting of the invitation again and smiling and realizing that this, like, spider speech thing is something that has always been a part of him. And like he's regained the use of a limb. That feels good. Feels right. And yeah, he's feeling okay.
excellent. And so, as Kyrrie, you dream of a study in which to further read these books. As Gavriel, you rest fitfully, imagining what you could have possibly learned about yourself. Perhaps given succor by the knowledge that your compatriots live a better life, even if it is a fictitious one. And finally, Twigg, kind of knowing that something that you gave Isla to consider was met with the seriousness and the earnestness and gravity it deserved. And with all of this knowledge and information, and in spite of all of the trials and challenges that face you, I think that it is somewhat comforting to know that you are facing them together. And that's where we're going to end tonight's session.
Boom, boy.
Let's go ahead and quickly do totals and kind of session thoughts for everybody.
All right.
Gavriel, let's start with you. How did Gavriel feel about today's session?
Bad. She felt bad. It was a bad time for her.
And so, yeah, so I think that, would you say that this also advanced your character arc?
Absolutely.
All right. Mark 1 acumen for advancing your character arc, and not only that, 1 acumen for basically coming face to face with your constituent parts.
Ooh.
Also, take 1 despair.
Yep, I thought so.
Twigg, how did you feel about tonight's session?
I think Twigg, this was interesting. I think Twigg basically is not going to speak about it to anybody, but is deeply unsettled by a number of things, especially the fact that they're no longer convinced that they're pretty sure that all of this is real. Mm-hmm. Twigg is now not entirely certain that they are real. And they're having a little bit of a very literal existential crisis.
Ah, yes, the joys of philosophy.
Always.
Thanks, Kyrrie.
You're so welcome.
God, I had a list. Oh, man, I have to find the list.
Take 1 despair. Take 1 acumen for basically coming to grips with the magnanimity of your situation. Kyrrie, how did you feel about tonight's session?
I think Kyrrie felt, she came face to face with the Guardian of Blue and managed to convince the Guardian of Blue to allow her to ask a question in advance of us finding this fictional form. So that was definitely, I think, a high point. She still definitely does not trust this Guardian, though, and the ownership potential of ideas that she seems to represent reminds her a lot of her sister, which, is very uncomfortable for her. I think, she's glad to have Gav back. She seems to feel a little more comfortable now that we're in the realm of ideas and books and philosophy. She feels like she can be useful in that respect and in that place. And having been given this sort of word puzzle to figure out, that's where she thrives. So I think she's definitely feeling pretty good about where we are at the moment, but certainly feels trepidatious about what we mentioned earlier with Maurice in terms of the next step being a journey to the underworld. And she feels like she's worried about what that could mean in terms of the narrative arc they're following.
Excellent. Why don't you go ahead and would you say that despair or joy is the overriding emotion here?
I think joy overall.
Absolutely. Take 1 joy and also 1 acumen and award for making the connection of kind of the rhetorical devices at work as well as coming up with potential solutions. Finally, Maurice, how did you feel about tonight's session?
So we're finally no longer being reactive. So we had the plan to find out more information. It was a success. We bought some books, and we have several clues and plans to track down. Gavriel came back. Maurice is happy, and he is can speak with spiders, and felt that part of him again. So he's feeling really good.
Excellent. Take 1 joy as well as 1 acumen for not only making a connection with an old friend, but also for, again, proposing several solutions to your current challenges. So guys, thanks again for joining us for tonight's session. We'll be back in 2 weeks with the next episode, episode 9, continuing where we left off. Maybe kind of pursuing this route with regard to this Fictorum figure, or perhaps pursuing more leads as to who the identity of Jeren the Devoured. That said, before we leave off for tonight, sorry, Marcy, where can people find you?
Haunting your foreclosed opera houses. No, or you can find me. I'm mostly just like around on Tumblr doing my own thing, but experimental madness everywhere. Maybe if we're very lucky, I will send some form of a tweet once every 5 years.
And is there anything you want to plug tonight?
Not tonight. I think I'm good. Am I missing anything?
No, I think you're good.
Awesome.
Hopper, where can people find you, and what would you like to plug tonight?
I'm at Hopper on Discord and fail deadly with a 3 instead of an E because I'm extra like that on everything else. I don't really have a really hard plug tonight other than I'm very excited for season 2 of Encounter Party. And yeah. Everybody should go listen to All My Fantasy Children. It's an amazing podcast where 2 giant dorks, who I believe Bill knows at least one of them, since you're on the other one, whatever. But I've been dying for a while laughing. It's really good. You should listen to it.
I love the title already, so it's going on my list as we speak.
Excellent. Marissa, where can people find you, and what would you like to plug tonight?
Yeah, people can find me on Twitter, Marissa Coors, all one word. I tweet about philosophy and Invisible Sun and general thoughts about metagaming and video gaming, sometimes some literary theory if you're lucky, so it's kind of a mixed bag. On Instagram, I'm Critical Kitten. That's sort of my vintage dress life. And thank you to my cast members who helped me win by covering a certain moment of the evening, a vintage dress on eBay.
Yay! We did it, guys!
I won.
Objective achieved tonight.
Indeed. Vintage dress acquired is special power.
Put up YouTube!
Yeah, there you go. Hey, maybe I'll debut the dress here sometime. We'll see. But yeah, and then Critical Kitten also on Discord with an underscore in between critical and kitten. And also that on Twitch as well. As for stuff to plug, I'll plug The Outer Worlds. I just got it on
Nice.
Friday. It is such a good game. Highly recommend it. Lots of the character interactions are really nuanced and make you think and challenge sort of what narrative tropes of certain characters are, which is well in playing with tonight's themes. So yeah, please check it out. It's such a great game, and it's also basically like Space Frontier, so what's not to love?
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Bill, where can people find you, and do you have anything to plug tonight?
You can find me on Discord at GhostBike, and tonight I'm going to plug a newsletter called Welcome to Hell World, which I feel is a very accurate description of what's going on in the world today.
Yep.
Luke O'Neill, Welcome to Hell World, check it out.
Darkest timeline, baby. Oh, Zach, one more thing.
Yes.
And
One plug only.
It's not a plug. It's a
How dare
request
you.
for our listeners. So I want to propose that this episode should be called The Shirtiest Shirt. So, and I think that our few and faithful and most loyal and appreciated listeners and watchers should tell me why I'm wrong.
Oh God.
Ooh.
I can't wait.
Okay.
Does this count with your fellow cast members? Because
No, do
I
it.
guess.
No, do it.
And I am your long-suffering GM, Zach.
Also, there was a GM shift that I didn't get credit for. It
Yeah.
was just a safe word, but still.
Well, we'll see about giving you credit for that one next time. So I'm Zach. You can find me at the Great Zamino at Great Zamino at Twitter and on Discord, where I talk about all things critical. Invisible Sun, and any kind of game criticism / game design. So start a chat. Talk to me about Surreality, because that's kind of my bag and my shtick now. And also check out some of the really cool stuff on Manapot Studios, like A Cage Sustained, which is on Tuesdays, and also I believe Tales from the Pact Worlds, as well as Roll for Insomnia, which is returning in November. So look forward for that. And in the meantime, may the invisible sun shine on you all. Good
And
night.
happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Night.